everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the first ever Mythrill Monthly. My name is Ace of J, and I am here today with my lovely, lovely guest and co-host, Elle Pond Fairy. Say hi, Elle.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Hello. So this is the first one of these that we're doing. Essentially, what Mythrill Monthly is a monthly podcast-style stream series where we go over all of the lore from the Mythrill SMP. So if anyone doesn't want to read the catch-ups in the public Discord or just doesn't have enough time to watch any of the other streams live, this is where you can come. All of these videos are going to be put up on YouTube after the fact on the Mythrill Archives channel. I forgot to add the link of that to the exclamation mark Mythrill, actually. I'll be sure to do that later. But at the very least, it will be put up in the Discord once it's gone live. But hello, everyone. Welcome. I hope you're all having a lovely, lovely day. I'm going to be doing... yeah, there it is. Thank you so much, Elle. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I guess we're just going to go through this in chronological order to the best of our abilities. So
I'm not sure.
Yeah, what better thing to start with than the wedding? You can check in the bottom corner to see what we're talking about and when. So I suppose let's start with the beginning of Arc 2. Shall we?
We shall.
Yes. So Arc 2 of the Mythrill SMP begins with the wedding of Jay and Sky. They've been fiancés for just about over a year at that point, and it was finally time for them to get married. So they went to Artemis's island. There was a lot of guests there, I believe. Bagel, Cloudy, Ava, Bean, Charlie, and our beloved Clive, the sheep.
I love Clive.
We love Clive.
Missing Clive hours.
Missing Clive hours, of course, of course. And so, you know, classical wedding stuff, everyone makes their way over before wedding jitters on both parts. And then the ceremony begins, and we have Jay coming down the aisle, Charlie as a flower girl, very wholesome and precious. Both of the brides make up their vows on the spot because we're perfect at planning.
Real.
Artemis acting as our lovely, lovely bishop because you are so lovely, Elle.
That's because I actually Googled what you meant to say.
Oh my goodness, I love that. I love that. Yeah, everything is going perfectly fine until just after the two kiss, at which point the absolutely detested sorry, I just realized my Spotify was low. The detested Panky, I feel bad calling them that.
Yeah, character-wise.
Character-wise,
yeah. We love IRL Panky.
We love IRL Panky, but anyway, moving on. Panky, a witch from Arc 1, most known for assaulting with the shapeshifter Celine and kidnapping Jay after the masquerade, appears on top of a pillar at the wedding venue, jumping down, starts ranting and raving about Jay's betrayal and how she would have killed anyone who thought to harm them or upset them, and being generally hysterical and a bit manic. A lot of yelling was happening until Artemis pulled out their sword and began to approach, at which point we were interrupted by Celine, who appeared between the two holding her axe. That was quite a dramatic moment now, wasn't it, Elle?
It was so tense, and I was there.
It, like, from everyone else's point of view, it just like you were holding weapons to each other's throats. It was very funny, very scary. But yeah, there's a nice back and forth between primarily Panky, Celine, Sky, and Artemis, as they talk about how Panky used a love potion on Jay to kidnap them, about how Celine isn't the bestest person and has not the stellarest of intentions. However, at that point in time, Artemis is the only one aware of their true motive. Would you want to share what that motive is and how you learnt of it quickly for context?
Yeah, so Artemis learnt that Celine wanted to take over the valley in the end of Arc 1, where she received a note in her pocket as they were teleported away from the temple after Karma was struck down. She followed said letter to a place in Burnwood and found something wrote by Celine, which was like, no matter what Warren and Karma want, she Mythrill will reign and she will rule the
Yes.
harbour.
Yeah, very much intentions of her taking over, and suspected that is the book that was missing from the temple, seeing as all the other towers had one, and the middle, except for Celine's. So that was very, very fun. But yes, so after a whole debacle and mass interruption to the wedding, Celine departs with Panky, but not before stating that if anyone is in need of their specific services, to visit the auction house in the harbour, a previously locked off building for all of Arc 1, now adorned with Celine's very own banner. And yeah, they depart. Jay ushers everyone over to the dining area for people to sit and discuss before, very casually and obviously very calm and collectedly,
Obviously,
calling her wife as well as the lovely Charlie Swarm and Artemis Hermes into the back room of the bar. Of course, Clive is serving drinks. What else would the sheep be doing?
Why do we trust him doing that?
I mean, he did a striptease while we were away, so we really shouldn't trust him.
Yeah.
I think my favorite. Yes, we did go to the back rooms, Mars. I do believe my favorite part is us entering the back rooms of the bar and me very vehemently exclaiming "fuck."
Yeah, it's how like you say it is my favorite thing.
Yeah, I feel like that's a little quirk of character J. I'm quite liberal with my swearing, and she does swear, but it's usually in like a moment of confusion or exasperation.
Yeah, Artemis is very similar at times that she doesn't swear often, so you know when she swears.
Like that moment with the creeper.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Okay. But Jay starts to freak out about the interruption to her wedding, about her literal kidnapper showing up, and about Celine. I do believe Artemis had made Jay aware of Celine's full intentions at that point. Not that she wasn't already aware from a previous conversation with our lovely little demon Karma at the end of Arc 1. But yes. Then after some very, very panicked talking back and forth between the group of them, Jay tries to find a glass of water amongst all the alcohol, or potions, should I say. And it's during this point that Sky discovers something hidden in the wall of the room, kind of leading into the dirt of the mountain, a journal written by one Charlie Swarm, as it happens. See, Charlie is an immortal phoenix who had visited the valley 10,000 years ago before its destruction with a group of adventurers named Atmosphere. Since Charlie has no memories of the event, they've just sort of been living there ever since, locked in the place until the barrier fell a few years before the SMP began. But now, this journal gives us a little bit of insight into them in the past and what was going on in the valley, combined with the logs that we got in Arc 1, written by Atmosphere's leader, Stephen Stavali. I need to actually recover those books from Cloudy's at some point now that I think of it. Yars. But the book basically talks about how Atmosphere first came to the valley, how they had found the barrier in the present time. Who knows what year exactly that was, but it was before the barrier fell, we know, where one of its members, Hilaria, saw Charlie on the other side of the barrier, which led to their curiosity of going back in time using an item called a time crux, which in the world of Mythrill, aka Infinia, there were 5 time cruxes made. They're very old and ancient to the point that there's no more written manuscripts of them, but character J is aware of them because she herself is incredibly old, almost as old as the valley, but not quite. So time cruxes, imagine. So time cruxes, there was 5 of them. 2 of them were destroyed. We found that the 3rd one had been destroyed at the end of Arc 1 through Stephen's books. But essentially, they're just a time travel device. Honestly, I imagined them to be like a time turner from Harry Potter, but more like an actual clock than a little hourglass in a thing.
Yeah, I get
probably.
that.
Maybe one day I'll illustrate it, who knows? But with that context out of the way, that's how Atmosphere travelled back to the past, and we learn a couple of things from Charlie's book. How the Valley is older than they are, since they didn't recognise any of the calendars. How there was unrest between the elves and the End going on at that point. Sort of references to the war between them that happened. As well as some notes about some disputes going on in the Fae courts. We learn about how Mythrill Valley in itself was created to be a utopic society, how the 3 deities, Warren, Karma, and Selene, were in charge of everything and were worshipped by the people there. How Atmosphere was writing research papers and looking on from afar, whilst Charlie, their protector, as stated at the end, as she signed, was mingling with the locals, trying to get to know them. There's a couple bits of information about a lot of elves being present, and a couple more tidbits of things. But reading the book has the happenstance of making Charlie panic after hearing Warren's name, which slipped out of my mouth, unfortunately. So Charlie is sent off to go look for Clive, whilst the others talk about the book more, Sky being very, very hesitant about the whole thing, not really knowing what to make of what's going on, and overall just wanting people to be safe, while Jay and Autumn was very much like, yeah, we want to know what's going on so this doesn't happen again. Because at this point, there's like a small inkling of what caused the calamity, but no concrete things have really been said about it.
Yeah.
Other than the fact it happened. But with that all settled, they leave the back rooms, head out to the party, canoodle with the guests, and one by one they all start leaving until it is just Artemis and Bagel in the tavern.
Yeah. Artemis basically she wants to basically talk to Bagel after everything that's happened between them. Bagel kind of not been really good friends with Artemis after leaking personal information of hers. And she kind of wanted to clear the air of what you did was wrong, but it's not that it was okay, but she doesn't blame Bagel for what they did. Like, it was just fun and games to them, and they understand that.
Yeah.
And they just get to go know each other a little bit more.
And Bagel took a particular interest, I think, in the name of one of Artemis's friends from the End, I do believe.
Yeah, because Artemis mentioned to Bagel something that she knew called Loki. And then that proceeded for Artemis to try and push a little bit more of why Bagel was so interested, and also mentioned that Loki had mentioned someone with the name, another name beginning with an L, but she just didn't remember who this person was, but they were another friend of Loki. And it kind of left off of Artemis kind of being a little bit confused why Bagel is so interested in this certain person.
It's very much a mystery, but yeah, since someone has just asked in chat, yes, we are doing a podcast. This is Mythrill Monthly. Have a quick look of the information. But yeah, with the wedding now out of the way, our next piece of lore is the fuck. I got cap looks on.
The border demon.
Yes. which is the lovely Captain Jellyfish's first lore stream. Relatively short one. So, demons are a thing in the world of Mythrill. Karma, who was a big part of Arc 1, was obviously one. And demons hail from a place called the Demon Plane, a sort of another world similar to the End or the Never, but not really with any established portals. It is possible for demons to pass through the Never and into the overworld from the Demon Plane, but there are some who can't leave at all and must be summoned to exit. But there are also some half-demons called Cambions who can travel between realms just by teleporting, so long as they are aware of the names of both of their parents, their Demon one and their Overworld one. So, our lovely half-Fury, Jelly, has taken an interest in learning about the Demon World's princess Karma, who has recently returned to the Demon Plane after visiting a world called Mythrill Valley. They're quite like celebrities in a Demon Plane, I suggest. The hierarchy system works rather differently in the Demon Plane. It's essentially, you have the middle area where the king is, and then around that center point, there are 7 different sectors of cities, each one ruled by one of the 7 deadly sins. And the sins all act as kings and queens. The king in the very middle is like the high king who rules over all of them. And then lesser sins, such as karma, and there are a couple of others like ambition and vengeance, who are known as lesser sins, and they are princes and princesses. But, they can't ascend to a higher station. That's just kind of an equivalent of where they stand. But Jelly, a simple half-demon fury, takes an interest in learning about where the demon princess Karma has been. So she starts reading books, hearing all these rumors about how people of the overworld smell like fish. She's been there a handful of times, but not really very long, and usually just to visit her mortal father. But after finding one particular book on her stack of shelves which describes the valley in a good amount of detail, character Jelly is they, them. How dare I? They manage to teleport themselves to the valley directly, where they can visit the world that their idol has been exploring. It's from this point that they wander into the library and meet Jay, who gives them a little tour of the area. Also happens to steal their name like the trickster fae that she is. Casually, accidentally, as we'll find out later, but it still happens. Yes, they go around the harbour, they talk about the Demon Plane and about Karma. Jay brings up Celine, wanting to warn more people about the shapeshifter who seems to have been running amok since Karma's disappearance. And it ends with Jay allowing Jelly to take refuge in their home until they find a place of their own. Sets them up a nice little bed on their second floor. It's quite quaint, actually. They've been little roommates. It's very sweet, very sweet.
It is quite nice, to be honest.
It's quite nice. And we get to have Yule lore now.
Is it Milo?
It's Yule lore.
Oh, it is.
Welcome to Elven Influence. Number 1. Would you like to take this one?
I can do, yeah.
Feel free to. It's your quest.
Yeah. So the first Elven Influence, Artemis is on about adventuring a bit more. Even though she knows there's a lot of things going on, she wants to try and find information about her other side of the family, her elven side, because she's always grown up with the Shulk side.
Yes, Artemis is from the End, just to clarify, just in case.
Yeah. She's from the End. Her mother and father they would tell them bits and pieces about elves, but they couldn't say too much just in case. So as Artemis is travelling quite far from her home where she resides currently, she comes across this very ruined building of what is assumed to be an old elven house, a quite large house at that. So, being cautious and walking in, I wouldn't say walks through the doors because they're kind of gone. So
Very dilapidated building.
it is very just. It's probably barely standing at this point. You can tell it's
Roof's
been
caved
there.
in.
Yeah, roof's caved in. There's barely any light in. The floors are partially gone. It's flooded
Moss
partially.
absolutely everywhere. No one make a theory about it.
No one make a.
Please,
So much
moss
moss.
theory, too much.
There's so much moss around my character, and I don't like it.
Oh,
That's my own fault.
it's just a pretty block.
While going into the first floor of this said house, she assumes she finds a chest, and within this chest is a book explaining some of the things about elves. Not everything, but some of the little things, I guess you could say.
As of, I think the first one was about the elven races.
It was, yes.
Yes, where there are the wood elves, the dark elves or the drow, sea elves who live in the water, and then the Eldaren who are the original elves. So all the other elven species were sort of came from them. Yes, we have another little sea elf on the server. I do wonder who that could be.
That's wild. So after reading this book and kind of learning a little bit more of her own race that she didn't know before, she continues onwards and upwards into the house and ascends to the second floor of this building and finds another book about elven culture.
Yeah, and their settlements and such.
And some of the old cities of the elves. About Vanya, Noldor, and Talari.
Okay, I'm glad you remembered the names because I did not.
Yeah, I'm holding the book in the game.
See, I've moved mine out of the Google Drive so you can't see it, so it's harder for me to grab now.
I pulled it up in the game and sat staring.
Yes. Do you want to give us like actually we don't have to give a description of the places, but I suppose we can know that in the Elfin book in Jay's library it only mentions Tellery.
Yes.
Not the other two, so seems some interest.
It's assumed that something most likely has happened, or who knows.
Yeah, well,
at this point.
Yeah, we learn that's later in the stream. That's later in the stream. Let's continue.
After reading that book and having a moment to think about what she's just learned, Artemis tries to find another staircase, which is very poorly there. It's very broken. And she goes and finds the last book, which isn't about any of the else, but it's a memoir of the writer.
I believe we pronounce it Eristor. Eristor. Not me Googling elven names.
Yeah. I read it, and that's just what I went with on the day as well.
No, I believe that is correct. Eristor. It doesn't. It can be whatever we want it to be. We choose.
Yeah,
I created this man. I choose what his name is pronounced as.
And this memoir is, as it literally says, it's his own writing. Saying that he kind of wants to write these books to expand informations after the discussions with the end people have produced less than the ideal results. They arrive in Mythrill Valley.
Yeah.
And he's from Tellery.
Yes, he is from Tellery. So from the first book, it seems he is an author writing about
Yes.
elven people and culture to sort of allow the world to learn about them, maybe get them some more allies through understanding, whereas their talks of the end have been sort of counterproductive, I suppose.
Yeah, and within this memoir, it does state that Aristotle isn't the biggest fan of the deities, he says in air quotes.
Yes, yes.
And then I'm reading through it. He then goes on, because he doesn't know many about them, and then he's hoping his team will come back with more information.
Yes, because they've settled rather far from the main harbour area.
Yeah.
So they have sort of people going in to check things out, and yeah, they
Come back
visit
with
they visit the
information.
harbour, but they live outside of it, I suppose.
Yeah, they
Is
live
how we describe
outside.
it.
Because it is past where Artemis's Island is. It then goes on to say about whether discovering the true reason for the unrest between the End and his people, which are the elves.
Yeah, he seems to want to learn why the End don't like them.
But there's a few friendly.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Endermen.
my dog's bark beat off the mic. I'm gonna try to mute if that happens. Dogs are being noisy. I do apologize. I'm not barking. I swear. I'm not that kind of woman.
Please stop, but don't bark. Yeah. Please don't get to that point, Joe. Please.
I'll try my best. I'll try. In this
There's
economy.
not many Endermen, but there's a few that are friendly. But Aristotle assumes that they don't know about the distress in their motherland.
Most
which
likely
is the
they're overworld born Endermen or live there and don't interact a lot.
And outside of this pursuit, Aristotle will be aiding his breathtaking in breathing in his establishing home settlements throughout the valley, as some of them wish to reside outside of the harbour. And he started to begin creating a book series of his kind, hoping to gain favour with the other beings in the world by sharing their culture, even if it fails, type thing.
Yes, yes.
But it then finishes. There is no telling what will change in an eternity.
And there is a lot of information that you learn in this book, and well, you make your way back to the harbour and have a little talk with a little scholar.
Which is also someone who Artemis is really good friends with.
Yeah, they're besties, Your Honor.
They are.
So I guess specifically you went over because you remembered that the elf book in there and it had differing information, I suppose.
Yes.
That and Jay is so incredibly old. I think the things that are clarified in that conversation is that the two other elven cities mentioned in the book Artemis Found were destroyed in the war between the End with the elves, Tellery being the only one left standing. And you also ask about the phase of the Night Court, since it was explicitly mentioned that Eldarin are often mistaken for them in particular.
Indeed.
At which point Jay shares that the elves of the Night Court and the not the elves, I do apologize. The Fae of the Night Court and the Fae of the Day Court had a civil war, and neither court exists anymore. So, yes.
And that, I believe, is the end of that one, really.
They talk a little bit at the tea house and stuff about karma and other stuff,
Yeah.
but
They
nothing
talk about more
too.
private things.
Yeah, they talk about a couple private things about Jay's nickname for her being Stardust, which is a direct reference to the elven creation myth of where they believe that the god of creation, I think it's pronounced Lauren, pass their souls through stardust, the ocean, and the trees to create them. So It's a reference to the creation myth. And also they talk a bit about Karma's nickname for Artemis, which is Pearl. Which, fun fact, that was that was chosen because Pond Fairy's username used to be Pearl Elpis and then Clover Pearl, and we didn't realize their character's name was different until a couple of weeks in, so we just retconned it that it was Karma's nickname for them.
I put it in the Discord and on my character stuff.
I just didn't see it, and then it happened.
My favorite thing about Karma's nickname is she specifically points out Little Pearl.
Yeah, she's Little Pearl.
She's canonically one of the
She's precious
people.
and rare.
Stop.
She's precious and rare, just like you.
I mean, she's one of a technically. There's only 2 of them that exist. Shulker elves.
True. Technically. But aside from that, they just talk about a bit of how they have to get information on the deity, specifically Selene, and they mention the upcoming festival of Amias, which is going to be held on Artemis's Island. Another event there so soon. Very fun. That is the in-universe equivalent of Valentine's Day, I suppose. Yeah. Amias is one of the many, many names for the goddess of love.
Yeah.
And or god. Gods in Mythrill don't have genders. Use whatever pronouns you like. There is no correct answer. We have another relatively short one now on our list. A demon and a ghost, which is the meeting between Jelly, our half-demon friend, our Cambion, and Ava, the undead spirit who has recently returned from the harbour, or to the harbour, I should say. A little bit of background on that. Back in Arc 1, during the masquerade, it was discovered that the building it was held in used to be Ava's home, which caught on fire and she died within. She came back as a ghost, having unfulfilled business, that business basically being having a life. And after learning of her past, she disappeared to limbo for a while, returning just a few weeks, potentially a month or so. Actually, no, I think it was a few weeks before Jay's wedding. She's not having a good time, a little bit traumatized, I would say.
Indeed.
Not just about cats anymore, because a cat killed her pet bird. But Jelly, again, our established half-demon, has a fascination with the demon princess Karma, who, again, has been to the valley oftentimes. So she decides to scour the library for a bit more knowledge on her, where she finds a fanfiction written about Ava and Karma, who have in-universe gone on a date before.
I still can't get over the fact that's how Jelly and Ava met.
Yeah, that's probably my favourite meeting. Though it didn't go too stellar, I should say. Jelly reads that book and then heads over to Ava's boat, which Jay had pointed out to her during the tour. But she finds Ava in rather a bad time. See, Ava has just woken up from a nightmare. I do believe it was to do with the void they had been trapped in for quite a while. So they aren't in the mood to be entertaining guests, I should say. But Jelly is curious, and Ava just has nothing better to do. So they end up talking about how Ava and Karma met, how the date happened. They walk around to the skeleton spawner, where Ava talks about how someone attempted to summon a demon, and after Karma appeared, they asked Ava to sacrifice them to said demon, which Ava did, gaining her free. Well, first she has to answer a riddle given to her by Karma, which I believe it was the one about what walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and 3 at night, which the answer is a man, because the times of day correlate to a life cycle. So 4 is a toddler, 2 is a adult, and then 3 is like a walking stick. You're old and you're scrungly. And that gains Ava 3 questions to ask the demon. The first one being, will you go on a date with me? And that's how the date happens. I don't quite remember the other 2 questions, but I think it was, what is your name and what are you, most likely.
Yeah, I think they were.
Yeah, it was that's a pre-arc 1 ordeal right there. That's some ancient lore right there.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about it, so I know a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Ava still has the VOD actually, but I'm sure it's somewhere. Either way, I've got a decent memory of it. But yeah, Ava basically walks around to the skeleton spawner and to the location of the thing. I meant VOD of the your first stream meeting Karma, Ava. I'm not sure if that exists because it was so long ago. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But they walk around and they do. Yay. Okay. I need to stay on topic. I'm talking to chat. Oh no. This is going to be terrible for the YouTube viewers. It's okay. It's okay. I know. You get 2 neurodivergent people in a call expecting them to stay on topic. It's horrendous idea.
I'm already multitasking. I'm playing Minecraft.
I'm not. I'm staring at documents. Anyway, Ava tells Jelly about her first meeting with Karma and about the date location, which is on top of the valley, how Sky was forced to wear a maid dress during it, and they talk for a while. Ava, again, being very grumpy, takes to threatening Jelly with violence. When Jelly's just here to make friends, they're just like, oh, yay, person, hello. Slightly threatened, but it's okay. And yeah, they meet each other and then they depart after Jelly has finished their questions. But not before Jelly asks about where Ava has been whilst they were away from the valley, which they are met with hysterical laughter. Yeah. What a lovely conversation that was.
Indeed.
And now we have, make sure we're spelling festival right. We have the festival. So everyone makes their way towards the lovely Artemis Hermes' island for the Festival of Love. So for a moment I thought I was missing Honeys, but then I realized that was a pre-arc 1 stream, technically. So
yeah.
We'll go over that as we go into this. Artemis is on their island with Honey, who they had found a couple weeks earlier on a different area of the island in a statue garden. Essentially,
a couple days.
Couple days, actually, yeah.
Couple days.
Just a couple of days. I have no concept of time. But Honey had been a statue crafted by a man called Galsun, a famous sculptor, and he had begged the goddess of love, Amias, as Honey refers to them, to bring his waifu to laifu.
I'm sorry, the way you phrased that.
I am 100% referencing something with that, but do not worry. Do not worry. Like a creep, very much so, very much so.
He is a creep.
He is a creep. We don't like Galsun. He is an incel. Wait till you find out. Anyway. Galsun asks for the goddess of love to bring his one true love, a statue, to life. And the goddess agrees. However, she decides to spite Galsun and his rather strange intentions by making it so she won't come to life until 10,000 or so years later. And so Honey wakes up with small remnants of why she's alive and how she was brought to life. Basically a newborn in an adult's body, where Artemis sort of takes her under their wing. Rather funny, since Honey is the angel in this situation and does not have wings. And yeah, so Honey and Artemis are on the island together. Honey's excited for the festival to the goddess that gave them life. And also excited to meet Jay, who they had previously been told could help them with their little problem of having a heart made of mithril, which is the magical metal only usable within Mythrill Valley, as if when it leaves the area that the barrier once stood in, it just stops working, loses its power, losing its touch, sometimes it melts. So it's brought into question if they can even leave themselves. But everyone starts arriving. Jay makes her way over with Jelly and Charlie, who she introduces on the ride. They bond over their mutual distaste towards water. Katie and Mars also show up, Mars being a human from the northern settlements, a area of the world where magic is just a mystery and a rumor, not so much a truth, who is very out of his depth with the goings-on in the valley. His reasoning for coming there is still unknown. And Katie, a sea elf who was washed out in a storm and is lost from her home, the lands of the sea elves, being unknown mystery to practically everyone who isn't a sea elf. They had met previously before Arc 2's start, where Jay gave them a tour, and now, having become friends, attended the festival together.
And they were friends, everybody.
And they were friends, everybody. We also meet the lovely Fysok Black Rose, an adventurer who has a particular interest in the shapeshifter Selene, which draws them some questions, and, well, they ask some questions. Bagel returns to the island after the wedding, wanting to cause a little bit of chaos, most likely, after the missed opportunity they just had. We also see Fen Moon, a curious stranger who I believe just woke up and is rather confused about where they are and what's going on, but they're having a good time nonetheless. Melora starts walking around holding a teapot, another curious stranger and new person in the valley of unknown origins. Moon returns from her sailing adventures, having missed her invitation to Jay's wedding, which she gets called out on rather playfully, and instantly has a, I suppose, distaste towards Jelly, them being a half demon and Moon not having the particularly fondest memories of Karma, having seen what their power could do to an ally of theirs in the past. Clive is once again running the bar, probably a bad idea considering he does give out drinks to minors. Well, does 200 and something year olds count as minors? I suppose in elven years, maybe? Actually, no, that would be far too old.
They're 18 in elven years.
They're 18 in elven years, I know.
No, like they're 80.
80 in elven years,
yeah,
okay.
They're 80.
Is that...
Canonically, they're like 16.
Yes, okay.
But they're 80. Yeah.
They're 80, so I mean...
I had to do the maths myself.
Well, Clive's giving out drinks to people who probably should not be having them.
Honestly, it probably adds up for him.
It truly does. But everybody, a lot of new faces, a lot of new people coming to the valley at this festival, getting to meet for the first time. They have a lovely Strider race set up by Artemis Hermes, where I believe Moon reigns the victor with... Was it Fysok in second, and who was in the third? I don't remember. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I love how you took time to remember that.
Well, I remembered the first two. I don't remember the third. I do apologise. It might have been Melora. It was either you or Melora.
No, me and Melora raced.
Oh, you and Melora raced. Okay.
I won just right at the end.
My keyboard messed up and I lost after having a lead, and I was sad. But... yeah, they just kind of all mingle around, have a nice time. Again, a lot of talk of Selene, Artemis and Jay sort of warning people of the shapeshifter who was mimicking another fave in the valley, Surin. And at some point, Honey and Jay and Mars agree to meet up at another time to investigate Honey's heart problems, with Mars being a pharmacist and... technically a doctor. They didn't pass medical school, but they didn't fail either, technically, so it's something. They plan to do a blood test in the future, and also some magical insight into what's going on. And yeah, they sort of eventually people culminate in the Starry Night Tavern on the island, have some nice chatter before everyone just heads home, you know? It's a nice time. It was mainly an introductory event for all of the new people, a sort of way to bring them all to the valley, having heard of the festival. So very light lore, more character interactions and meetings to set up for more conversations in the future. But it was just existence. It was a very fun, chill event. I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. It's always fun having the voice mod on the server and getting to walk around eavesdropping people. Bagel got a lot of free food. They probably only came there for the free food. I think both them and Charlie gave out potions and blamed it on Clive. Also, Clive did a striptease again.
Again.
I ended up locking him in the town hall because I got fed up. I said, Clive, you're going to be drinking. You can spend time with the Council of Villagers. This is where you live now. The council. We council. Yes, it was nice. It was nice. And there was even like a little stall set up. I don't have this written down actually, but after the festival had finished, the fairy Rose made their way over, having previously met Artemis when they first entered the valley. Do you recall anything from those encounters? Again, this is a pre-Arc 1 thing, so
yeah, before the first time Rose and Artemis met, Rose was kind of, I think, in shock eventually, and kind of walked off the cliff of the
that's my favorite clip
of Artemis's tavern in the harbor, as they go to leave after they have a short chat of
no wings to catch them. Rather peculiar for a Vila.
Which, even though Artemis doesn't fully know everything about magical creatures, she does know that they are meant to have wings. I mean, she doesn't know what was lacking, really. She didn't pay attention. She was really tired.
Yeah, understandable. I mean, you never sleep. Both in and out of character. I am calling you out. This is a call-out post.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
Pretty accurate.
But I think they had a short chat
nothing too impactful.
After the festival as well, just saying hello, kind of, it's nice to see you around.
Yeah, being like, oh, you missed the festivities. I'm so sorry you were late. Here, have some heart-shaped cookies. Have some Valentine's chocolates.
Indeed.
Little rose bushes everywhere. Rather cute, rather sweet. But yeah, that does it for the festival, which means we move on to the aforementioned discussion with Jay, Mars, and Honey about their heart of Mythrill. So, Honey, Jay, and Mars all meet in the library in the harbour to discuss Honey's concerning heart condition. They end up heading over to Mars's pharmacy to take a blood sample, where they discover that Honey's blood is blue, sort of confirming that their heart is in fact still made of Mythrill and was not replaced with a normal human heart when they were turned into a person after being a statue for 10,000 years. Mars, has the sample and plans to do some tests on it, try to figure some stuff out, them being a doctor, but having limited tools, as no technology more advanced than steam-powered things work within the valley because of the amount of magical energy surrounding the place. It sort of tampers with stuff. There being only like one really advanced inventor in the land, and that being Bean, who has been making the Hoovers, which are semi-sentient.
Yeah, they like alcohol.
They like alcohol. Well, they clean the glasses. It's more so that Mythrill sort of is a magical conduit, so they don't have souls, but they have sort of a semi-sentience. But it is confirmed during this stream that Honey does in fact have a soul. She is in fact a person. Jay looks into her soul, sees, you know, what she is and what it is and all that sort of stuff. And they go over the options that they have laid before them until they can sort of figure out a way to help Honey, because a heart isn't an organ that's very easily replaced. I think like open heart surgery, and do they do heart transplants? I do think they do in like modern day, but they're rather complex, and that's modern technology. And again, if Honey can't leave the valley, they can't get that sort of medical attention because with that kind of instruments don't work within the valley itself. So they're left to let Mars inspect their blood to sort of determine how much metal content it really has, if it's just like magically blue. Whilst Jay starts listing like the ways that they could potentially magically transfer their heart, all of which are a bit too dangerous for them to want to risk. And then they start talking about ways that they could make it so them not having a heart wouldn't be an issue. The main ideas for that, and I'm not stalling to find my notes. Where is that? I was just staring at it a minute ago. Here it is. Okay. So the main ideas for allowing Honey to leave the valley with their heart being made of Mythrill is the first one is to turn them into a vampire. Vampires do not need their hearts in order to live. They live off a constant stream of just ingesting blood. So turning them into a vampire would allow them to just remove the heart a lot easier, or to just leave it there and hope that it didn't have any sort of internal problems if Honey left the valley. Because they wouldn't need it as an organ if they were a vampire, but that has its own sort of problems, you know, immortality at the cost of a constant stream of drinking blood for the rest of your life. They think of turning Honey into a homunculus, which is basically transferring Honey's soul into a new body, most likely something like a homunculus is usually like a human body that is made from unnatural means or magical means, so it could still be made of flesh, but it could also be made of clay or like stone, like a golem. They could just be a walking statue. And obviously moving their soul into a new body would make it so the other one, well, they don't have the heart problem because it's a new body, but that also would have the added thing of they would probably have to figure out a way to get rid of the original body, because then it would be a vessel, and well, that could be messy. It's very complicated. It's very you can't eat a vessel. No cannibalism, chat.
we don't do that here.
Well, I mean,
No.
we don't do that here. We don't. That's for TGI Teefs. Anyway.
Yeah, TGI Teefs.
TGI Teefs. That's a reference that no one will get. Don't worry, guys. You'll find out eventually. Other ideas is just splitting their soul into various items so that even if they stand to die by leaving the valley, they wouldn't be able to, because the sort of gist of how a body works without a soul is a body without a soul is called a vessel. And a vessel can die, but it will always come back in order to retrieve its lost soul. However, if a vessel dies too many times, it will turn into a monster. If it's a magical inclined person, such as a witch, like Panky, and this is something mentioned earlier that I forgot about, but if a witch loses their soul and is killed too many times, they'll become an actual eldritch horror.
Wild that.
So it differs per species.
Since last night, yes. I've realised how much I say that, and
it's cute. I love your mannerisms.
I'm way too self-aware.
Oh, that's what my therapist says. Anyway, that's wild. That. But after going through these possibilities, Honey isn't the biggest fan of any of them. So instead, she decides to just let Jay and Mars contemplate further to come up with some more ideas. She leaves them in the pharmacy and in her 8-day-old body and mind decides that she doesn't want to wait. So she goes to the auction house and leaves a note for Celine. A decision she soon finds to regret as she returns to her home on Artemis's island, tells Artemis, who illustrates to her exactly how much of a terrible idea that was, only for them to go back to the auction house to collect the letter and to find it already gone. Imagine. Not the best situation, I do believe. But with the impending doom of Celine potentially showing up somewhere or writing Honey back, Artemis lets Honey stay at their house as they await the inevitable, I suppose.
Real.
Oh my goodness, Moon Law. Moon Law time. As we move on to Pirate of Gold, which I believe was a stream with you and Moon, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
I'll allow you to take it then. It's a rather short one, so.
It is. It was nice and short and sweet. So, after the temple in Arc 1, Artemis had decided to kind of leave the harbour, the immediate harbour where she lived, and move to the island, obviously. And with
did some
that,
adventuring, had some fun.
She adventured. Her brother tagged along with her at times.
Lovely
and then
Apollo.
He went to stay, and Apollo went to stay with some elves. She had wrote letters to some of the people closest to her at the time, such as Jay, Cloudy, Sky, Charlie, and Moon, and her brother. And Moon had received that letter after she came back from sailing, and went to speak to Artemis about it.
Yes.
And with that, they just kind of talk and catch up about everything between what's happened, and Artemis also brings up Celine to Moon, letting them know, like, to be careful and such, because she does not share the full contents of what Art herself knows, but she lets Moon know that Celine isn't a person they want to trifle with, like they kind of did with Karma.
Yeah. And Moon doesn't really have any intention of getting on Celine's radar.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they also talked a little bit about not messing with magical creatures, specifically Fae, since Artemis is aware of the rather, I suppose, one-sidedly benefited deal that Moon and Jay have. That being that Jay will provide Moon with some information. In exchange, Moon will not harm her in any way, shape, or form. Jay also did promise not to, hurt Moon physically, but, well.
And Artemis did point out that, yes, Jay did say physically, but Jay has magical means that Moon does not have. And did insinuate it was a bit dumb to do said thing.
Yes. And aside from that, you had some talk about Jelly, since Moon isn't the biggest fan of another demon being in the valley, even if they are only half, considering Jelly's appearance is very, very demonic. But, my screens all just went down. Oh no. We're good. But after that, she heads off, but is planning on having some discussion with the lovely Monet later. But that's a stream we'll talk about in a moment. And then we move on to roses and consequences. And I have to be very careful spelling this word. There we go. Would you like to start this one off? Do you have the document pulled up?
A minute. I have the Discord open with it.
Yeah. Do you want to go with this one since you were involved? I can jump
Yeah, I
in
can.
at some other points if you need.
Yeah. So with roses and consequences, Honey wants to build something for the god that brought them to life, Emius, as they call them. And while looking for a spot for this said thing, they run into Celine, and before realizing, they run to Artemis's house. And Honey basically shows Artemis where Celine was, and it starts to get tense. Where Celine has revealed to be around this new gazebo that Artemis had recently built, as it had some sentimental meaning. And
I believe Selena tampered with it a little bit as well.
Yes, she did. She
changed the table.
Yeah.
Said your table's ugly. Get a new one.
And then Honey tried to make kind of make a civil environment for the three of them, but it is very obvious in the moments that Artemis and Celine are not very keen of each other. Artemis being particularly front forward about it and snarky to Celine about certain comments and certain things she said.
Yes, and Celine's being just nice as pie, sort of in the what is the word? What is the
sickly sweet?
Yeah, being sort of the sickly sweet, sort of trying to make Artemis look bad, by I don't know, not quite egging them on, but just not taking their bait, I suppose.
Yes.
Trying to make a good impression on the impressionable Honey, which seems to work, actually.
As Celine takes her leave, Artemis and Honey talk, and Honey is
Need some help?
Sorry, my brain's just Artemis then comforts Honey about not faulting them for what happened and understands why they did what they did. And they understand that in their point of view, Honey felt very cornered, like they had no other place to go apart from a last resort. And Artemis pointed out the fact of how long Honey gave Jay and Mars to find some information about something that has only just been found out in the last couple of days.
It was literally the same day after they had just taken the sample, she went to go ask a deity for help, which, I mean, that's no time at all.
And so she does kind of say, you shouldn't have done that, but I understand why. And then the departure, and after even being comforted and etc., Honey then goes to the auction house to speak to Celine.
Yes, a one-on-one conversation. How dangerous.
And Celine points out that Honey is trapped within the harbour, or the valley, more so. She never gives Honey a direct answer.
She never says she can help Honey leave. More so that, like, something of that caliber, if they were to ask it of them, would be very expensive. They end up casually bringing out a soul that they have claimed as being able to even attempt to change Honey's heart would be, well, something worth their soul. But their main premise in that conversation isn't to try and take Honey's soul, but instead to brew some disrest, I would say. Artemis points out, or not Artemis, sorry. Selene points out how Honey is blindly following Artemis's lead and begins to sow seeds of doubt into Honey's mind about if they should be trusting the half-elf. Something that Honey gets rather confused by. So they head back to Artemis for a little bit of a confrontation, I would say. It's not a pleasant conversation. Honey even begins raising their voice at Artemis as they try to explain things. And eventually she decides to get another opinion after quite angrily leaving Artemis in the tavern. So she initially decides to go seek out Panky, who they know have heard of being in cahoots with Selene. But instead of leaving another note, like they'd done with Selene, which had been an obvious mistake, they instead go to the library and talk to Jay, who is a bit under the weather, but she manages to calm Honey down. And when Honey asks if she thinks that she should be trusting Artemis, Jay says that it's her choice who she trusts, but confides that she does trust Artemis because, you know, they're best friends, Your Honor. And at the end of their conversation, Honey returns home and attempts to gain counsel from the very being that brought them to life, the Lady Aeneas, as they call them, the goddess of love. So they head to the statue garden, where they initially woke up and start to talk to the statue of the goddess, but they gain no answer. Until they turn around and find a cornflower has been placed behind them, as well as some coins. Initially, they think that this is from Aeneas, and, well, they're not too happy about that. It's not answering their question. But as they descend the hill back to their home, they get a note. She does not know who it's from or where it came from, but as she cries, she reads it, and it simply says that the love god may not listen, but I will. And that's the end of, well, that stream. Rather mysterious, isn't it? Rather mysterious. A lot happened.
A lot did happen.
A lot happened that wasn't planned.
I remember that day. I was so tired.
That day went off the walls, but it was very, very fun. But we have something a little bit... We actually have a couple in a row that are a little bit shorter, so we should be able to get through these pretty quickly as we move on to a moment to think, which is another jelly stream. We love jelly.
We do.
We really, really do. But essentially, our lovely half-demon, you know, new to the valley and all, just goes around talking to themselves, exploring the harbour some more, trying to just think about everything they have learned since coming here. They've been being told about Selene, they've been meeting all of these new people. They are very curious to find out what exactly happened to Karma to send them from the valley back to the demon plane, since so far they do not know or have not gained this information. They're a bit worried about her, actually, since all they know is that she was struck by lightning and then disappeared. But she's hoping that sorry. They're hoping that they might be able to learn how to fly, seeing as many people within the valley also have wings, like Jelly does as a Fury, and they're a lot smaller than theirs, which is something that they find interesting, seeing as whilst they grew up in a demon plane, they were always told they wouldn't be able to fly because their wings were smaller than a Fury's typically were. But again, people in the valley have smaller wings than them and can fly just fine, so they're hopeful they might be able to learn, but as of that moment, no one knows that they can't actually fly. Which is very, 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 very funny that they've been hiding it from people. But they just kind of go around exploring places, talking about their home, their fathers, one demon father and one mortal father, and how they're curious to get to know more people within the valley. They bring up Honey, the statue angel, as well as having a particular interest, which they can't quite pinpoint the reasoning towards, in talking to Melora and Bagel in the future. They also have hopes of mending their relationship with Moon, seeing as they didn't make the best impression at the festival, as they started lying about having a lot of magical power, which they did not possess, and which made Moon rather defensive, I should say. Something they confided in Jay, who then more or less told Jelly off for lying about something like that,
Moon was
as it could
also
put her in danger.
late before this stream that Jelly did not, in fact, not have much magical potential.
Yes, she was told by not only Jay during the festival, but also by Artemis, I think, after the fact, during Pirate of Gold.
Indeed, yeah.
But yeah, that more or less ties up A Moment to Think, a nice short one, as we move on to the first of the Steam-powered heart quest. And would this be easier for me to copy and paste? Yes, but I like how it looks when I type it out.
Like just gradually getting on the screen.
Yeah, I think it's
it's
fun.
so nice.
I think it's cute. I want to be cute. So essentially, one of our members, a Scottish Bean, spent the day in Mythrill Harbour working on their Hoover stall. They sell Henry Hoovers. Yes, they actually exist on the server. As well as setting up their new Henry Hoovers. They have a mustache. It's not copyright infringement. You can't tax us. Anyway. As well as working on their little mushroom place, which is very, very cute, very, very sweet. After returning to their Mushroom Island home, they hear a mechanical voice talking to them throughout the caves, where they are drawn to the lava below the main area they have been storing their machinery. Me trying to type and talk at the same time is not a good idea.
You're doing wonderful.
But they hear this metallic voice and decide to investigate, finding above the lava a metal heart made of copper and covered in like wires sticking out into the walls and suspended above this lava. There's even a podium in front of it that's dilapidated, worn with age. And they stand before this hulking mass of technology that speaks to them in a garbled and hard to understand voice, slow pronunciations, very, very robotic. And it asks them for help. It asks them to find a catalyst, a Mythrill catalyst, a very hard to craft item. And it gives them a compass that will lead them to one that can help it. And with that, Bean ends their stream. So it was a nice little cliffhanger that we envisioned for that one.
My favourite part is the stream after for Bean.
Oh yeah, so we'll get to that soon.
It's
very, very fun, but yeah, that was sort of the quests are very fun because I am the lead writer for them all, but the people experiencing them get the bare minimum information. I gave you the coordinates for your elven place. Yeah, because you're supposed to be naturally finding them is the thing.
Mainly because I'm not in like the other quests, people they're like Bean and such are getting directed towards them.
Yeah, Bean and Moon have compasses. Yours is supposed to be like
I'm just finding them.
You're just finding them as you explore around the world.
I'm just walking upon these things.
Yeah,
basically.
it's very, very fun. But Bean is given a compass, and they plan to set off whenever they come back next. But that is for part 1 of a Steam Powered Heart. very, very light stuff going on there as it was a cliffhanger, but we do enjoy. And then we have another Artemis stream.
Okay, we calculated how many law stuff I was involved in within of the start of Act 2 up to now is. So we're recapping on 22 law things, right?
You
I'm
gotta
in like
stop,
10 of them.
You gotta
I'm
stop.
in like 10 of them.
You gotta slow down.
Not my fault. I swear,
To quote the Schuyler sisters, take a break. Take a bloody break, bestie. But
I did.
you did, but you need to take more. Okay. We're on to when the stars and planets align, which is Artemis and Marsarcy, or just Mars, just human Mars. Yeah. Hi, I am human man Mars. I like popcorn and F-150. What F-150?
So,
you go.
As on this new island, Artemis has come to the point where she's being able to relax a bit more, not build as much, and she wants to make it look physically more pleasing and pretty. So
also replace a couple of rogue flowers that have been appearing.
Yes,
merely the poppies, which I wonder who those are linked to.
About. So
Celine, that's the answer, chat. I've got to tell them this is a recap.
Yeah, Artemis heads towards the very new flower shop that Mars owns.
Flower shop / pharmacy, very fun.
Indeed, and Artemis, as she's browsing Mars, comes down the stairs and offers assistance if Artemis would like, and they're like, "How many flowers do you need?" And she's like, "I don't know." So they head off to she has a lot. And they head on back to Artemis's island and just start planting flowers. Some in particular spots and some just mainly everywhere. And as they are planting flowers, they get to know each other a bit more. As Artemis talks about her past and asks Mars some questions about themselves as well.
Yeah, we learn a bit about Mars's father. I think you talk about your parents a bit as well, and light mentions of the lovely Apollo, especially around his shrine with his sword.
Which where they place some sunflowers, particularly.
Yeah, because sunshine boy. I always sort of phrase that stream as being Artemis's therapy. in a small way, it sort of is. They're quite liberal with talking about themselves, or I guess their past, I would say.
Yeah.
But
and it's the very little. It's kind of information Artemis has told other people, but kind of picks up Mars isn't the best at being social, and neither is she when it becomes very personal. She's more of a professional and formal person, as is seen when she hosts events due to her past, which she had to go to many formal events at times.
Many formal events. So many. Oh, no. But no, they quite quiet people. They kind of, similar in a couple of ways.
Yeah, they just have kind of comfortable silence, I guess at times as well.
Yeah. Sort of I'd say a relatively fast-forming friendship after Jay had introduced them at the festival and this second interaction.
And as they go to part ways...
Found family dynamics, anybody?
Real.
See, it's not all angst.
It isn't. Yet.
I
love how we both be like, yet.
We gotta.
And before parting, Mars does have this small coffin problem, and Artemis does ask if he is okay, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm a doctor."
Yeah. He brushes it off. He'd know if he was sick. He's medically trained, and then he leaves rather quickly after that. Yes. But that is it for when the stars and planets align. And then we get another Mars stream called a bonding moment. You did not see that P.
Don't worry, I didn't.
Don't
because
worry.
I was talking to my father.
The lovely A Bonding Moment featuring Katie Gobert, our resident sea elf, and Marsarcy, our human pharmacist. So Katie finds Mars writing a letter to his father, and they both begin talking about their families. Mars was raised by his father in the northern settlements, rather snowy landscape, a lot of collections of villages and such, where Katie grew up in the Sea Elven Kingdom with her family, which she misses very dearly since she doesn't know how to make her way home after being washed out in the storm, as we previously mentioned. They decide to look in the library to see if they can find anything that could point them in the direction of Katie's home, and whilst they do find a book about elves, its knowledge on sea elves is very, very limited. So they end up heading to Katie's new restaurant to grab a meal before going home. And Katie even decides to give Mars a place to decorate in her underwater home, which she has magically enchanted so they won't... Oh, well, it has a magical conduit so they won't drown because, not everyone can breathe underwater.
And the place that they have, it's kind of dug out into a cave as well, so it's...
Yeah.
Mars doesn't have to worry too much.
Yeah, they just have a nice little, a chat, a bond. Very, very simple and very cute.
Guys.
And everyone can breathe underwater, Katie. It's a good philosophy to remember.
Real.
For real. But yeah, nice and simple. And well, I suppose we'll have to see if Katie manages to find out anything on the sea elves. I wonder what this will lead to. The next one. Wow. The Muse. I love that band. I love you. I love you too. I don't actually know a lot of Muse songs. There's a couple of good ones. I don't remember any of their names. But we return to our lovely statue, Honey, as they go on a little walk around. They are working on a gazebo outside of their home before they realize they don't have enough glass to complete it, and so they get in a little boat and set off to a nearby island to gather some sand. Whilst there, they end up going a little bit inwards from the shore, where they find some broken down homes and ruins, eventually finding a sheet of blueprints of a statue. And this sheet of blueprints happens to be enchanted in a way. A priestess of Ammius named Psyche had put their memories onto the paper before her death, allowing Honey to see a moment back in time, I suppose. So they see Galsun, the craftsman who made them in his workshop, going over plans for his new statue that he plans to make, that being Honey. And we find out from a servant that Galsun was engaged to a woman, that same priestess, Psyche, who would come to see him. Galsun brushes off the servant and Psyche, but she barges in anyway, and they have an argument. Essentially, Psyche is upset that Galsun has been spending more time thinking about this statue than about her. Galsun defends this by saying the statue is based after her, that it's being made in her honor to symbolize his love for her. But all Psyche can think of is how much he loves this theoretical statue more than he could ever love her as an actual person. She ends up calling off their engagement and storming off, at which point Galsun sets further into work to finish his statue, altering it slightly to resemble Psyche a bit less, changing the hair and, well, a few other things in the process. Before the memory ends, Honey sees the remnant of Psyche and speaks to them a short amount but is unable to get any answers, primarily about why Aeneas won't talk to them. And with that, they wake up. Well, not really wake up, but they come back to their senses. In time. Sorry, I thought I heard a noise outside my door. I got very paranoid for a second.
That's so valid.
But yeah. So, Honey is understandably angry that they weren't even an original concept. They're based after somebody else who was living. And they return home, where they find another note on their person, talking about how Gulsun never deserved them. They start asking questions to the air around them, hoping to get some answers, and they get a few. Confirmation that this being is not Aeneas and is not Celine, and without being given a name to refer to them by, dubs them Breeze, as they come and go like the wind. And yeah, a bit more about character Honey's past and creation, and more notes from this mysterious being.
I wonder who it could be.
I wonder.
What's your theory, Jay? Who do you think it is?
I think it might be Clive, honestly.
You know what? Good show.
Us when we actually know.
Well, we didn't know.
We don't know. We don't know anything. It's not like we write this.
No, totally not.
Definitely not.
Tee-hee.
Definitely not. Tee-hee. Tee-hee.
We would never do that.
We would never. We would never. But then we move. Oh God, another one of yours.
No, you realize how like
I really do. I really
we
do.
put the numbers together. Like we're like, okay, that's quite a bit, and then we actually speak. I was like, oh, no, that's quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, this is relatively short in all things considered. This is the conversation between Artemis and Celine.
The moon and the star.
The moon and the star, which is funny because they're both technically called moon. Oh my god, moon. Moon.
I chose the star for a reason as well.
Oh, I know.
So,
I know you did.
This stream, this lore, starts with Artemis just sat writing a letter to Jelly about the interest in the internship that Harbour's woodshop that she does currently own. After they have recently renovated that house, which can be seen very quickly with just in the room itself. They then head to Jay's house, which is where Jelly's currently still staying, and leaves the note in their room before heading down to the harbour with another mission of talking to the woman of the hour, Celine. Artemis, knowing what Celine looks like currently, walks in there.
That being mimicking Surin. I will say.
They have, I guess, a little short back and forth before Artemis gets into asking questions. And she shows like Celine loves talking about themselves, as they are proven correct. And some of the questions Artemis asks are, why are you interested in people's souls? And Celine then argues of who wouldn't be, stating that they're interesting and powerful, and then points out that Artemis' soul is broken. And to an extent, I guess, no use to her, but no one really knows if it is or not.
Should I be nice and let chat see that art of Celine that I did? The one from because I don't think I'll actually get to show it now that they've changed their form.
I mean, you can do.
Would you like to see it? Oh, continue. I might show it. it.
And then Artemis then goes on to ask Celine, would they hurt somebody? And Celine...
There we go.
shows Artemis isn't any more likely to hurt someone than they are likely to hurt someone. Artemis then asks the people you mimic, why them? And Celine compares changing forms to changing clothes, which doesn't settle the
I guess she really wants to change the world but can't change her
Wait,
clothes.
I knew you was gonna. I love the art we have of Celine and like the new Celine form as well.
I need to draw some art of the new Celine at some point because all I have is the old one, but I do love
I
it.
have the Mars art
You have the Mars art E.
somewhere. Yeah.
I mainly love the old one for the soul.
Yeah.
The way I go swoosh.
This does unsettle the half elf because she's comparing the people in the valley to mere objects.
Yeah,
that
pieces
is
of
their
clothing.
Yeah, something that can be thrown away at any point they want. Artemis then asks, why of all places are you choosing to take over the valley? As if it's obvious and with arrogance, Celine states the valley has always been theirs.
Yes.
And then proceeds to say how nice they are for letting people stay there and not injuring them.
Still playing the sickly sweet card, even, to someone who she knows hates her.
And then being, I guess, the opposite to that sickly sweet, states that some people need to remember their place in the valley, as they directly reference Artemis in this sentence.
Yes, rather tense conversation.
As Artemis has got her answers, she does not need to speak to Celine anymore, and she knows what she wants and she got what she went for, and she leaves commenting about bringing her sword the next time she sees Celine or talks to her. And as you see Artemis walk out, you can hear Celine's laugh as she leaves the doors of the auction house.
Yes. That was a very, very fun stream, very fun setup.
It was fun. I know me and Sarah were both really stressed about it.
Yeah, you both did so well though.
I'm proud of that stream.
I'm proud of both of you. You did so very well. But now we move on to the Steam powered heart 2. You want to explain real quick why you love that one so much?
But what, the Celine one?
No, the steam powered heart one, because you mentioned earlier this one you like a lot.
There's 2 reasons.
Yes.
The one that I'll say it when it comes up. But for this one, me and Jay just followed the way around.
We followed them all around.
Screenshots.
It was really, really funny.
I got so many good screenshots. So
Same. Wait, I'm trying to.
So good.
I actually wanted to do this to stall so I could pull up the ones that I have.
How about to say, I've got some I can send.
No, I think I moved them. I
have
moved
some.
them.
Don't you worry. It's the last thing me and Bean sent. Like I sent to Bean were just all my images.
Wait, I think I still have them. I just have to find the correct place.
I have the one of them standing in front of the heart.
I have found. Okay, but I need one in particular.
So it's the best thing. It's one of my favorite things because it's.
There we go. This one.
It's not something you'd know unless you were there.
Yes. There's the heart for people wondering. But the steam-powered heart too, so as previously stated, Bean was asked by this mechanical heart they found within their island to find a mithril catalyst to sort of help it restore its power in some way. They weren't really given a lot of reasoning, more so pleaded with to go on this adventure before the heart itself shut down. And so Bean sets off with their compass on a boat ride from their island, where eventually they find, and I have to skip through a couple images here, a
Oh, the
shark
best thing.
submarine.
I love it. To this
They
day.
it's very, very cool. I won't take credit for this build. I simply made it copper. However, they enter through its mouth where they find that this submarine had been basically used to like eat other ships that floated on the water. The remnants of a ship, as well as a couple of skeletons existing in the shark's mouth. They find the catalyst they were searching for on this ruined boat, which they pick up, as well as an axolotl, a pink one, and a blueprint for what is dubbed a steam-powered hammer. They take all these items before they explore the rest of the ship, finding that there is a lot of mithril and other such things left around, where they just sort of determine that whatever happened here, like, this wasn't just abandoned, something else has happened here. The place is covered in cobwebs and there's water damage everywhere. It's a mystery they don't really have answers to, but they found what they were looking for, so with a couple more coins now in their pocket and a cool blueprint to explore later, they head home to the heart, where they are very, very much hoping that they might be able to investigate this catalyst a little bit more before giving it to it. However, the heart seems to have different ideas, as it pleads with them to throw it within the lava. Just right in there. I suppose theoretically the pipes from the heart go into the lava, so it sort of works in rejuvenating the heart's power a bit, to the point where it is able to talk a little bit more coherently and allows Bean to ask a couple questions, but not before thanking them for helping. So Bean's first question is if the heart had always resided within their island, as they had not noticed it until that point. Something which the heart confirms that it has. It had just been using the last of its remaining energy to cloak itself. They ask exactly what the heart is, and it says that it is the heart of the island that Bean has made their home on, that it's powering the thing, and that is made from copper and powered completely by Mythrill. Kind of a parallel to another Mythrill heart that we know in the world, huh? Bean asks why the heart needs their help specifically, and it states that that Bean's love for machinery and the fact that, most likely the fact that they are also the only inhabitant on the island, made them the perfect candidate to ask for help. It asks Bean to find them another catalyst, as they need more in order to fully recover its strength. And Bean reluctantly agrees before heading to their workshop to start going through those blueprints they found and constructing that hammer, which they do. Well, or they will do by the time this next lore stream happens. They'll have it. It was actually shown at the end of their stream as a cute little teaser, but you can go and watch that next time Bean is live. Ooh, woo, 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 woo. But with that one, oh, we have another Crestel. Another one. Oh my goodness. Okay, I think I'll step away. It's fine.
No, I'm here.
Oh, I thought you disappeared for a moment. I
muted for a quick minute.
Okay. It didn't have the mute icon on Discord, so I didn't realise.
I muted my mic.
No base, that's what I do.
Was counting numbers in Minecraft.
honestly, same. But now we have what I have been dubbing upon familiar waves, number 1, which is the lovely Moon Intensities quest. So, as things that have happened before, Moon is going to meet with their friend Monet, who they have a history with, having met on the sea, and Moon having beaten them in a duel. Monet offered to help them in their search for their missing mother. which they start their way towards. So I'm gonna turn the screen off quickly. So Monet had found a letter in a bottle whilst on their travels from Moon's mother, which they give to Moon. It states about them going somewhere very, very dark, and so Moon and Monet start to think about where they could possibly go. I do believe Monet pulls out a compass that they got from a merchant, I think they said specifically. I might be misremembering that, to be honest. But they have a compass with what seems to be the engraved word of crescent on it, which they follow very, very far afield until they reach destination. Except there's nothing there. So, seeing as their mother's, or Moon's mother's note spoke of dark places, they decide to dig underground, hoping to find something. What they find is an ancient city, something that they've heard vague whispers of, but never seen before. And in its center, they find a chest with a book, another compass, and some echo shards. The book turns out to be a sort of diary or memoir written by someone called Hilaria, who, while Moon doesn't remember it at the time, turned out to be a member of Atmosphere, the person who had written down how to craft wings all that time ago that was found in Arc 1. What they find out in this book is that Hilaria had actually been sisters with Moon's mother, Mary, and that they seem to have had quite a disagreement at some point. Not fully understanding the contents of the note, having a hazy recollection of visiting the temple back in Arc 1 with the rest of the other, harbour people, members, that such. Artemis and Jay and Sky and Cloudy.
And Charlie.
And Charlie, of course. We love Charlie. Moon and Monet sort of go around the ancient city gathering things, being very careful not to set off any of the sensors about, kind of worried about what could happen, not fully knowing what is going on and where they are. Before they leave, deciding to keep the information close to their chests and follow the second compass they found at a different point in time. And yeah, that is more or less it for Upon Familiar Waves. But I guess the underlying thing is they're hoping that reading these books by Moon's aunt, Hilaria, will give them information about where her mother is, since it seems to be their only recollection right now. Not the strongest recollection, considering it's a 10,000-year-old research log. However,
yeah,
I'm sure the pirates will figure it out. I'm sure they will. They're smart. They're educated. Potentially, they can steal.
They can read.
They can read. That's more than I can do.
They can deal.
They can deal with it.
Yeah.
They can deal with it. But you know what? I can't deal with a life without you.
I can't deal without you, honestly.
Oh no, we're gonna be told to get a room again. No.
I'll just get rid of it in chat. I can do that.
Ban them. No, please don't.
I can time people out.
No. Okay, well, it's a me stream.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. We're on to ask for the moon. And I want to talk about how clever this title is real quick, because I was happy with myself. To ask for the moon is a what is it called? Pseudonym?
Yes.
Is that the right word? It's a pseudonym to mean to ask for something unreasonable. It is sort of a play on the fact that Celine's name means moon, and that they are asking for things that are rather unreasonable, that being people's souls, though that isn't what this stream was about. So, previously being stated once again back in one of Honey's streams, character Jay had been quite ill, being taken care of by their wife Sky, and not really being around a lot. However, they now seem to have recovered a bit, and have a theory for why they, a 9,000-year-old fae, who aren't very prone to getting ill, got sick in the first place. That being a year-old deal they made with Celine during their first few months in the valley. See, Jay's whole deal is she is interested in learning the lost history of the valley. She wants to know about Mythrill, about how it was created, about its properties, its magical energy, what it can be used for. And she wants to know of the past, of the calamity of the group who noted everything down about the logs, about the deities. She's very, very interested in learning about this place. Something we learn, don't quite learn, but we learn at the end of Arc 1 that she has some connections to one of said deities, that being Karma, the demon. Not much else has been said about that as of yet, though. So, with the knowledge that she, wanted to learn more about this ancient world, Celine made her a deal a long, long time ago, before Arc 1 even began, offering her a Mythrill pickaxe in exchange for a favour. But Celine didn't know what to ask of at the time. So, Jay offered them an IOU. Anything within reason, because they're not stupid. So, Jay makes her way to the auction house where she finds Celine. However, they don't look exactly how they did at the wedding. No, they have changed their form from that of Surin to that of Artemis Hermes, Jay's beloved and dear friend. The hair is different, the eyes are different, the outfit is different, but it's Artemis all the same. Shulker horns larger and prevalent axe in hand. And, well, Jay can't help but burst out laughing, you see. It's a rather hilarious literary reference. Artemis and Selene, two goddesses of the moon from Greek mythology, two opposing and very different figures in that mythos context. And she just can't help but laugh over it. But after her giggles have subsided, she decides, well, more so states, that either Celine should tell her what she wants, or she can take back the pickaxe, nullifying the deal entirely. Celine asks for something simple. She asks for Jay to retrieve a sample of Honey's blood for her, stating that it's the only use that they serve. Rather harshly, I might add. Seems like Celine isn't the biggest fan of our statue friend after their previous talks. You manipulate someone one time and now they hate you. Oh my god.
Yeah.
No, but well, Jay can't find something unreasonable about that request. Strange, yes, but nothing that would give them means to deny it, and since they know where to get the sample of Honey's blood, they go do so. Jay goes to Mars's pharmacy to pick up one of the samples, as it has been split into 3 at this point, and brings it back to Celine, but not before musing on what the shapeshifter could do with this item. Mythrill is a powerful thing that they have been researching for a long time, and they wonder if Celine is trying to do the same, or if potentially they want some other motive with it, since they don't know properties of it themselves. They don't know if it's toxic, they don't know if it's dangerous, but they do know that when she first came to the valley, the scholars she had come with, most of them being human, had thought Celine to be a vampire, mostly because the sightings had been at night, but she can't rule out that it could be a possibility. She even muses that the power to shapeshift that Celine possesses might not even be their own power, as they had been assuming, but it might have been gifted to them, as they know through Jay's ability to read people's souls and magical signatures, while Celine's is obscure to her, that, well, there is something more there, something that is not natural to Celine, that she was not always with. She can't make up exactly what it is, other than some sort of power, but she knows that it is there. And before leaving, Celine says something that tickles Jay's interest. She refers to the adventure, I suppose, of taking people's souls and, confusing others by changing their shape as fun, something which Jay can't help but notice is so similar to the phrasing Karma would use, which he points out much to Celine's chagrin. And while Celine states that, Karma isn't there right now, it's their time to run the show. They're the most powerful deity in the harbor. Jay leaves telling them that it's only a matter of time until Karma returns. And with that, Jay goes back to her library, where she decides to pour herself into learning about the book that was, deciphering the final page of Charlie's notebook to find out where the other ones might be, so they could learn more of Celine and hopefully figure out what kind of creature they actually are, since the possibilities are narrow but still quite endless. I feel like I got really cinematic with that one. I think that's because I was involved.
I think I think it might be to do what it was though as well.
It was very dramatic. It was very
It's
plot
very
important.
intense. Well, I mean, I was there. I was the other person.
I know. You
there,
did so well.
I almost cried.
I feel a lot more confident talking about streams that I was involved in because, first-hand experience. I've got a good memory for stuff that I put my own fingers into. Dug my little gremlin hands in, didn't I?
Oh, it's wild. If you look at who's involved in the next 4.
I can't believe. I mean, you were involved in this one as well. You're involved in that one because it's Celine.
No. As Artemis.
As Artemis, I know.
I don't class Celine as my involvement, but it's not.
I mean, it's still you as a person, though. It might not be Artemis, but still you as a person.
I will say Celine isn't. I don't know if it sounds weird, but it's not as.
Elle is literally everything. They are my whole world. They are my universe.
I'm everywhere, guy.
You are my beloved, and I love you so much for that. I love my whiteboard. Can I just say I love my whiteboard?
No, I love you. I love the whiteboard.
I love my whiteboard. It just goes swoosh.
I'm not in everything, okay? I mean, most.
You're in my heart.
That's true, but I'm not in.
And you are also in Pirate Moon Comes to Talk.
Indeed.
Because I just stole your stream title because I couldn't think of anything better to call it.
Bryce, stop! I will time you out, Mister. I will time you out.
Faisok Black Rose is not your law time yet. Wait, be patient.
Be patient. I'll speak about you next. My goodness.
We'll get to the wonderful Faisok soon. I promise.
It's just jealous that we're not talking about him yet.
We're on page 20 of 22, guys.
Woo.
We're getting there. Would you like to take the forefront on this one?
I can do, yeah. It's not as
Go
long.
ahead. I know, but still. There are some things to talk about.
So Artemis starts her day. Look at the notice boards that she's recently built to keep things in order and make sure she kind of keeps on top of what she wants to do. And before she gets started on building some houses for her friends, so they would no longer need to use the hotel. A friend of hers, Moon, appears unexpectedly on the island, wanting to talk to Artemis about something. Moon, still rather confused about what she had learned with Monet from the ancient city. She shares some information with Artemis, trying to get a better glance with Artemis, kind of knowing a bit more information about Hilaria and remembering probably more just remembering things a lot.
Yeah, unlike Moon, Artemis had been involved in the quest for Steven Savali's notes since the beginning, has seen Hilaria's writing before, and Moon had just been there at the temple.
Moon was also hesitant as she told Artemis she didn't have this note, as Artemis did ask to read said note and the book. The book that Hilaria had wrote, and the note that, the letter Moon's mother left. And she later reveals that she actually does have the letter and the book, the journal of Hilaria, and Artemis does eventually persuade Moon to allow her to read it with her presence. After reading both books, Artemis does explain who Hilaria is fully and the connection to the valley this person has. but Moon doesn't really get any more answers to what she already knew, as it's still unfull of information. Like, there's not all information there, but Moon can tell Artemis is hiding something still from her.
Yeah, she's hiding something rather important, I would say.
It is rather important, but ignoring the gut feeling Moon kind of has, they move on to the topic of the poems that a friend had left many of the people in the
Yes,
valley.
Siren, aforementioned Celine's previous target of transformation. Siren went on a trip a while ago and left almost everyone in the valley, I believe, a poem before they departed, sort of pertaining to their characters, many of which people found confusing, I will say. But yes.
Yes. And because Moon feels like the poem she was given was a threat towards her, the Artemis shares her own her own poem that she had received from the writer herself, and made sure that she was aware that she was not being threatened. She had nothing to worry about.
Yes, because last thing you want is Moon to think they're being threatened. We've all seen what happened with
Indeed.
Karma. And by that I mean Moon perceived Karma's warning as a threat, as they showcased
Yes.
what they did to an ex-member who got a bit too big for their boots.
Yeah, and they then approach the topic with meeting one of the recent newcomers of the valley, Isaac. And then they talk about Celine, which Moon presumes Celine to be a demon and is trying to avoid the shapeshifter as much as she can. Which Artemis does warn that to not get into bother with this shapeshifter, because Artemis does have a feeling that she is indeed not a demon.
Yes, and at this point, just to clarify, Artemis is unaware that Celine has changed their shape to mimic them. They still think they look like Siren.
As she does warn Moon about
Moon
looking like Siren.
Yes.
And Artemis reveals to her particles, which is the chat basically for streams, that she may know Moon's mother. However, she does need to make sure she's 100% correct before sharing said information with the pirate herself.
Because how many people have pirate mothers named Mary?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Wild that.
Wild that. All right then.
Do you want to do the next one?
Well, it's another one of yours that you probably know more information about. However,
I know more information. It's the thing of I don't know much more than I can't remember fully.
Oh,
but
based. I mean, I can handle this one though. Actually, no. You do this one because it's quite short, and I'll do the next one because it's longer. It's longer.
Yeah, true. So this one is Mischievous Bagel. Referencing referencing the Enderman that Artemis has
half
previous.
Enderman. Don't know the other half quite yet.
It's why I kind of just call them an Enderman sometimes. Out of law.
Based.
Which Artemis previously wrote a letter to Bagel to just have a kind of more of a talk like they did after the wedding, because they do want to become friends with Bagel and want them to feel welcomed. And then Bagel does make her way to Artemis's island, and then the two go to the tavern, which they run into uh, as they are talking about some things, Jelly comes along
Yeah, Jelly,
out of
who had been
nowhere
looking.
for
Jelly, who had
honey.
been looking for Honey's house, which I think uh, they had gotten very lost and turned around, having only been to the island once
Yes.
before, but it still was a little bit sus, as the kids say. A little bit of a sussy demon.
No, stop right there. It doesn't help that like Bagel, not Bagel, that
Da, da, da,
Jelly's
da,
like
da,
pinkish
da, da,
red.
da, da,
I
da,
don't know.
da, da.
After a while, Jelly does leave and do like very much suspicion in with Artemis,
Mm.
and the two Bagel and Artemis talk about Artemis saying that she does want to become better friends with the Half Enderman. Bagel, being mischievous like always, looks through Artemis's belongings when they do get to her house, and Artemis gets stuff before she can read some of them.
Snatches it away because, personal items, books and such.
It is a letter from her dearest friend, Jay, that she hid from Bagel. Before departure in the Artemis does give Bagel some suggestions how to get their hoovers to behave, as they do not look after the crops they are meant to.
See, Bagel has a lot of hoovers, and they
They need to
oftentimes
watch.
waterboard them.
Yeah, they need to watch the crops, and Bagel and Artemis went
I
to their
have a
house,
picture of that, actually.
and they were not watching the crops.
They let them get trampled, the dastards.
But as Artemis does leave, they cannot help but notice the walls of her friend's home looking like eyes.
Ah.
Imagine.
They do. Also, I don't have a picture of, actually, I might have a picture of who was getting waterboarded, but I can't find it right now.
I found that I have one of, not Bagel, but...
I mean, I do have this one of Celine waterboarding several animals while we were off stream with a little Ava in the corner. This is what we do when we're not live on the server. Chaos. There's a goat, there's a horse. I think there's a llama.
Bagel's looking on right now.
Bagel's looking on. Oh, look at that.
What a legend.
No, it's fine. I'm pretty sure I have one somewhere, but I'm trying to find these pretty quickly, so don't mind me. I've got one of just Marsarcy's face. That's perfect.
That makes sense, though.
That
Piece
does.
of an artwork.
Yeah, but yeah, Bagel's house looks like eyes. Why are there eyes everywhere?
This is a good question. Artemis does ask it herself.
Do you think if Bagel gets angry, they stab the walls, and then it's like you're gonna knock someone's eye out?
They might do. I don't know.
Maybe it's like catharsis. Instead of punching a punching bag, they stab eye-looking stuff.
Maybe. Makes sense.
Not really, but I'm just talking out my ass. Okay. We're moving on to another lovely stream called Sipping Tea, Spilling Truths. I wish I wasn't dyslexic and slow at reading. But it's fine because we have the lovely, lovely stream where Jay, who, after their interaction with Celine and their new form, wrote a letter to the lovely, lovely Artemis Hermes, calling them to a tea party. Now that they are all well and ready. Very long overdue. Again, Jay had been sick for a good couple of weeks, both in canon and out of canon.
Why she was canonically sick.
Why she was canonically sick. But they all, well, as Jay... Words, thank you, my brain, haha. As Jay is descending from her house to go meet Artemis, she bumps into Jelly, who she had wanted to invite anyway, since it had been a bit since they had gone to speak, so they end up grabbing Jelly and making their way to the tea house, where they find Artemis already sat there. So,
speedy person.
very, very fast. Gotta go faster. Moving at a speed of sound, quickest hedgehog at right. Okay, I gotta stop. I can't stay on topic.
But I think we've done quite great.
We're doing really good. We're doing really good. I'm proud of us.
Saying
Anyway,
it's us too.
we're getting back on topic. They all sit down with their tea and they have some nice, lovely small talk. You know, Jay, having been sick for quite a while, hasn't really been seeing the goings of the harbour, but she mentions how Sky, her wife, has been taking care of her, how she's been a bit overbearing, so she sent her out to go and find some buttercups, which only grow on the very outskirts of the valley, around where the barrier used to be placed before it vanished. Artemis talks a bit about her recent meeting with Moon, but she's very closed off about what they spoke about, other than having just talked to each other. Also mentions Bagel and how Jelly and them had met on the island while Jelly was looking for honey. It's consolidated that Jelly is now the intern at Artemis's woodshop in the harbour, which is a fun ton of events. Maybe they'll get to talk to each other more to do with that, who knows. And Jelly just talks about how they've, you know, met Ava recently, how it was an interesting conversation, and a few other things they go over while they chat. Till eventually Artemis asks Jay to get to the point already because she is very good at stalling. Jay does her very, very habitual steps of pacing around as she talks and thinks, before telling Jelly and Artemis of her recent encounter with Celine, carefully leaving out the reasoning for the meeting in the first place, but she does tell them about how Celine has changed their form and goes over with them all the possibilities of what Celine could be, all the different creatures she could be, like a vampire, or the changeling is thrown around, though they typically can only take one form and it's more convincing. There are others which she can't quite think of off the top of her head, but they talk about it, and a couple other things, filling Jelly in on some information they weren't fully aware of to do with some stuff they had learned about the deities and the valley and such. How they theorize that Celine has gotten their power from the third deity who no one has ever seen, nor do they have any information on, being Warren, who they very much stress to not say the name around character Charlie, as they will cry 100%. They have done so before. It was very sad.
It was indeed sad.
Yes, but Artemis doesn't take the news of Celine taking their shape too well. She kind of goes quiet. Very obviously upset about it, I would say, or in however obvious emotions can be on Artemis's resting bitch face.
No, literally. Let's be real about this. Her resting bitch face, real good.
Oh, it's lovely. It's lovely, just like you.
No, it's you.
But they just kind of go over things for a while till Artemis leaves. But we'll get onto that point in a moment as to where they go.
Oh my goodness.
Meanwhile,
I forgot.
Meanwhile, Jay.
Where did I go?
Yeah, it was. Meanwhile, Jay and Jelly walk around the harbour, go past the auction house, check out the new explosion shop that Melora has just set up, and how Jelly is interested in meeting them, and having more talks with Bagel. Before they end up in the library, as Jay just always ends up walking there, always ends up in surrounded by her books, which she just loves so much. She is just a little librarian. Like, who could ever hate a little librarian? She's too precious. But they end up recounting some of Karma's first interactions within the valley, how Ava and Karma initially met with the summoning, and how Ava killed somebody to bring them there, how the date happened and took place with Ava's questions about it, and even some other things about, like, when Karma started the scavenger hunt for the logbooks at the very start of Arc 1, where she stole the books Jay had found, the books written by Stephen Savali, and scattered them around for people to find. A couple other notes. Jay putting all of her knowledge down to the various summonings that she's done or hearing from other people in the harbour, but we know maybe not all of that knowledge comes from those sources.
Oh, yeah.
Some of that comes directly from the source of their conversation, but yeah, we'll get into that another time. Eventually, they separate. Jay going off to once again try to crack the magical enchantment on Charlie's journal. and Jelly goes on her way. And, well, would you like to tell us what Artemis was doing after they departed the tea party, Elle?
So Artemis had gone off back to her house to pick something up, and she had previously kind of cryptidly told her particles, etc., about sending a letter to somebody. And all the particles were like, you should send the letter. And she was like, it's kind of hard. So she set off to a place she had a compass of an old stronghold back, which was a stronghold back in the War of the Elves in the End. And she had always kind of backed out of going there due to why it exists. So she makes her way towards this stronghold that now is just covered in dirt on the ground with an iron door and a hidden key, which at this point in time isn't the best hidden key ever. And then there is a long staircase down to the stronghold. And as she walks through said place, she finds cells, or cages, you could say, of skeletons, of elven skeletons. Her findings skulk around, which...
My fucking god, they're fucking dead.
And skulk signify death of people, and there's a bit too much for her liking about, so she has all of her armour on, her shield up and her sword out, just in case. Even though it's an abandoned stronghold, she does not know what it could be holding there. And she makes her way...
Hold strong.
She makes her way...
Oh, shut up.
...to the room that holds a portal. And this is a portal to the end, back to her home. She stands there and debates of going back home for a moment, but then doesn't want to risk it, so she just sends a letter through. And with hope and risk of everything, she tosses the book into the portal. And this book is to someone very dear and close to her. It is to her partner, Loki, or as we learn, her fiancé at the time. And the way he received that letter is because of an old knight that used to serve under Artemis called Hestia, had been guarding the portal that day and delivered it to him because she knew Artemis's handwriting personally. And this stream ends with, on Artemis's part, with hearing and watching Loki kind of read this letter from his fiancée that he didn't know was alive for 33 years. So yeah. Stuff went down for her. And she doesn't know if it made it there, and she doesn't know if he's going to write back or anything. But it's the thing, she leaves the stronghold as quick as she can, or is assumed to be as quick as she can, and heads back home and waits.
I'm surprisingly sweaty.
It's intense.
It's intense. It's intense. I take my hoodie off. Sorry, that was like really immersion breaking. Also, I realized. Oh no, it is the Salem streamer. Sorry, I got really confused. So much happens.
Mm.
But yeah, awaiting a letter back. Was that when you revealed that Loki was your fiance?
Yeah, that's when it gets revealed
After
that the
after so many references to a certain person,
partner,
and in the end, a partner.
just that's all he was.
He's just
So
a
that everyone knew.
partner. Yippee-ki-yay, our beloved Loki, Mimir, our lovely, our lovely.
I do have artwork of him as well.
You do. I mean, I can show it if you'd like, or we can keep it a secret till a future time. Actually, we could show it when, well, something else happens later.
Yeah.
Yeah, send it to me so I have it. But
Yeah, I'm missing it.
we are now going into currently the longest lore write-up. Thank you, Bryce Isaac, back rows. Currently, I say, because we do not yet have a write-up of the 2 most recent lore streams, but we are moving on to when goals. Fuck, my cap lock is on.
Align. Hey, my favorite thing is that I came up with that title.
Yeah, and everyone was like, "Yep, stealing it. It's too good." But this is the aforementioned meeting between Physoc Blackrose, Moon, and Artemis Hermes. So, I suppose we'll go sort of back and forth on this one since there's a lot of information.
Yeah, that'll probably be the best for this one.
So, do you want to, I guess, you go with up until Moon shows up, and I'll continue from there.
So, as Artemis starts her day, she knows that she's meant to meet Physoc and Moon later on, so she makes her way kind of swiftly towards her tavern, the Starry Night, not and picking up her mail box before she leaves. And she gets some drinks and food ready.
I just realised we can't show the art, sorry.
Yarg.
Because it's a spoiler.
Is it? Hold up.
They don't know. They don't know about.
No, they do.
Do they?
It's said in that stream. Jay.
Okay, sorry, I hadn't seen that part. Okay, continue. I do apologise. I do apologise.
In the letter. It is said in the letter.
Don't spoil it.
Well, I'm not. I'm saying something's been said in the letter.
Continue. Sorry.
That she sent already.
Yeah. Yes.
After, I guess she gets the food and that ready, and then Physoc arrives shortly after the elf, and the two make their way upstairs to a more, I guess, quieter part of the tavern, even though the Hamry family have actually left the tavern for once.
They've gone to the inn,
the hotel,
to sleep off their
alcoholism.
I was gonna say alcoholism, but is it really? Like they're cleaning appliances. They just kind of clean.
Yeah, but they drink it. They're drinking the glass clean.
Can a mechanical construct get drunk?
I don't know. I don't know.
I'll have to ask Bean about this very important world-building fact.
No, please. I need to know myself.
I need to know. Okay.
Physoc very formally introduces himself, and
Bean is here. Wait, Bean.
Oh my god!
Answer my question. Can Hoovers have Can Hoovers has alcoholism? Has Hoover alcoholism? The semi-sentient Hoovers, can Hoover alcoholism has?
I need to know, Bean. It's very important.
If they clean like a half empty bottle of vodka, yes, they can has alcoholism. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Bean.
There's alcoholic Hoovers.
There's alcoholic Hoovers.
Right.
Thank you so much, the lovely Scottish Bean.
Okay. Thank you, Bean. I love you so much.
We love you, Beanie. Continue.
Starting his very formal introduction of his full name and what he kind of does for work. Artemis then introduces herself, going back to a very formal form of herself, introducing who she is and her previous occupation, and because she doesn't fully know what she does anymore, she just kind of wonders, if some
Yes,
would
yes.
say.
Previous occupation being a Daemon of the Edge, which was the sort of elite militia of the End, I suppose.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Very fancy.
Indeed. And they kind of have a civil conversation, and I guess shortly get a short conversation in before Moon arrives.
Mm-mm. Would you like me to proceed then?
Yeah, you can.
All right. Well, continue on from what they were talking about before with Moon now present. It gets a bit more levity to the conversations, I suppose, with a third in the dynamic. They talk about Faisok's reasoning for calling them there, that being Celine, and how they are very interested in learning more about them, as well as other things about the valley. Moon, again, does not know much of Celine, Artemis having previously told Faisok, sorry. It's difficult with the characters of different names. Ah!
I see. I'm glad I'm not kind of the only one.
No,
Like,
yeah.
Rice's his is on like his
Like,
screen name a bit
it's
more, so it's
just,
a bit easier.
yeah, it's like, to me, he is Bryce Faisok Blackrose. That is his full name.
Yeah.
So,
Well, who knows that? Could be his actual character's full name.
no, his
He's
his character's full name is Faisok Bryce Blackrose.
a...
It's the other way around.
That's so real. So real.
It's a middle name. It's a middle name. Oh, but no. So, Artemis has previously, before Moon showed up, told Faisok about what they knew of Celine, questioning them a bit about why they want to know the information, but, you know, not too forefront about talking too much about things as of yet. Moon showing up, they talk about, again, Celine, as well as a lot of other things going on in the harbour. How Moon wants to stay under Celine's radar, how Artemis and Moon became friends, both trying to learn information about this new land they had gotten into, with Artemis acting as a therapist and Moon acting as their client. Which eventually formed their friendship. They also playfully pull swords on each other as they do this. Light banter, very fun, very,
I will say
very
that's
cute
my
of them.
favorite thing of the fact just me and Moon just did that at the
Yes,
same
yes.
time.
Faisok talks about how he's a very well-travelled adventurer. Moon compares him to a land pirate, as his occupation is that of a delver, sort of an more adventurous archaeologist. Think of your typical D&D character sort of occupation, I guess. But a bit more interested in like the mystical and old sort of stuff. Yes, they talk about Mythrill, how Faisok has never seen it before, which Artemis explains because it cannot leave the valley. It's impossible, something which is being said over and over again to many of the new people, since, well, it's such a wondrous new invention, you know, powerful items that never break, ability to craft wings, connections to the end with the items it can make. It's very, very interesting. Garners a lot of scholarly insight, doesn't it?
Sorry to ruin the mood, but do you want to know something?
Quickly, yes.
I got a Kinder Bueno.
How many this
Every
week?
time. I don't know. It's become a theme of me saying it now, so I feel like I have
I
to
feel
say
like you
it
have
every
to.
time. Yeah,
Context, everyone. Elle has about 60 Kinder Buenos,
it's not
maybe
my fault.
more. Their mother keeps
Yeah,
buying them then, but
my mother dearest.
they
We
eat
love my
one,
mother.
and every time they eat one, they announce it. It's very precious.
Yeah.
I just wish they would share.
Oh, if you head to my house.
Okay, continuing on with the lore. Um, they also talk about, and this is something that I threw in to Elle's chat. They were talking about Mythrill, and Moon brought out a Mythrill apple. I just decided they taste like blue raspberry for no reason that I think it's funny for an apple not to taste like an apple. And you mentioned it, which I love you for. So now we're gonna get people addicted to Mythrill apples.
I thought it was really interesting. I was like, because I didn't see what it tasted like, but I was like, I kind of gave a rough like
Yeah, like
taste. And
tingly,
you're like,
magic-y.
it's why I didn't say it's like, oh, it tastes like this. Like,
Yeah.
just in case.
I mean, yeah, the Artemis hasn't. I mean, even me, IRL, has not tried blue raspberry, so I don't even know what blue
Oh,
raspberry tastes like. I just thought the
yeah,
apple is blue, and I don't want to taste like an apple. I want to taste like a
yeah.
raspberry.
Artemis hasn't canonically tasted blue raspberry. But she has tried a Mythrill apple before, so I guess she
Yes,
does
yes.
technically know. But
Mythrill apples are basically craftable god apples. They take 9 Mythrill blocks, I believe, or not 9, 8 Mythrill blocks, and a golden apple, I think is the crafting recipe.
yeah,
Rather expensive, but, well, at
nothing
least
for
it's
noon.
not ingots, since, Mythrill blocks are crafted with standard Mythrill and not ingots, because those are far too
Oh,
expensive. Never
yeah.
starts in a crafting
Imagine.
recipe. How could I do this?
They would cry. They would. The server would cry to us.
I mean, honestly,
They
like,
would. Let's be
I
real.
feel like it might have been more fair if it was ingots, because making a good apple, oof, that's a lot. I could
Yeah.
make so many good apples if I wanted, but I won't. Um, but eventually, after, going through topics over and over, Artemis decides to take their leave for a while, inviting Faisuk to meet them again at the festival location on the island once they're done with their conversation with Moon. Also offering to give the two humans a little bit more privacy to talk. Which leads Moon, who is rather ignorant about the magical creatures in the world, having encountered so few in their time on the seas, decides to ask Faisuk about their knowledge, specifically if it's possible to kill them, as she had gotten the impression from something Artemis had said previously that they weren't killable. Though that was more so of just Artemis giving them a warning that, magical ability may make them more difficult to kill, and just in general should be avoided to anger them, especially like, Selene, Karma, that sort of thing. But Faisuk establishes that yes, they can kill. Just because they bleed different colours doesn't mean they don't bleed. And with enough, well, the more humanoid the race is, the anatomy is the same as a human, so you can just stab them through the heart, more or less. He even states that he has watched some die before him, killed some himself, which is an interesting tidbit of information to add on, I would say. I mean,
Yeah. Why would you tell someone you killed somebody?
Moon is a pirate. I would assume they've done some devious things, but well.
I have the sheet of what we did the other day.
I was just about to say, not us making a canonical list of
Yeah. How
characters
many
who have
people?
murdered and how many people they've murdered on the SMP.
Yeah.
Katie, you are on that list, be afraid.
Yeah.
One still
She's just-
counts. One still counts.
The thing is like no one knows.
It's
Apart from us, no one knows how many people each person's killed, if they have killed, etc.
context now that I've said that. Katie accidentally killed a dolphin. They accidentally killed a dolphin and it still counts. We're counting it as a murder. They need to breathe air as well, Katie. I can't believe you forgot. Anyway, moving on. But yeah, Faisuk tells Moon a bit about the magical creatures, how being human, they can't harness magic, they can't use the powers that they do unless, they are gifted it by some powerful being in some way, which neither of them have been. So they just have to work with what they have. And he reassures Moon that even though she is human, it doesn't mean that she is less than the magical creatures. There's a reason why humans are not just slaves in the world. There's a reason why they're probably one of the most dominant races around. They might not have magical potential, but they excel in innovation outside of the means, while the magical races are content to live in their more medieval fashioned lifestyles. Humanity is moving forward constantly, making new inventions and other such things to help the world. And that makes them all special, in a way. Just because they don't have magic doesn't mean they aren't strong or powerful. It just means they are such in a vastly different way, which Moon takes some comfort in before the two of them depart. Moon even donning her Mythrill crafted wings and flying off, which, Faisuk cites as being rather special, seeing as, not every human can fly. I just find Faisuk so quotable. He's wonderful. He's
I
wonderful.
think it's also the fact we did watch it last night as
We
well.
also did rewatch this last night. We were having a little watch party. It was cute, but also, I mean, he is a dungeon master, so it understandably knows how to be dramatic, doesn't he? All good things. All good, 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 good.
Do you want me to continue, I'm guessing?
If you'd like, or I can go till
can.
after the temple, and you can do the dramatic stuff, but I don't mind. If you want to, you can do it.
I'm pulling. I have it. Let me have a look.
Go for it. Go for it. Go for it. But I suppose
Sorry.
now that Moon has left, Faisal goes to meet Artemis at the tree, who had in the meantime been reading the note that Honey had left them in their mailbox about them apologizing for their previous conversation, and some other things. Artemis gets an idea in her head to pursue later, but we'll cover that at another point.
That's my favorite
thing. Do you have it pulled up now? Can you continue?
I do have it
Go
pulled
ahead
up.
then, my friend.
So, Faisal goes to meet Artemis as she looks at the tree that is the center of her island, commenting that it is quite magnificent. With that, Artemis says to Faisal, and with him wanting to know more about Celine, she would take him to the temple where they were worshipped.
The Mythrill Temple, first seen at the last stream of Ep.1, where we found the final logbook. Very, very interesting place.
As they arrive there, Faisal is warned that the bridges are very broken and dilapidated over time, and to careful not to fall. And as they walk round, Artemis does tell him information about which part is signified for which deity of the harbour.
Not me looking for a picture of the temple.
As they are walking round, Artemis does spot something that wasn't there the last time they were at the temple, and pulls out the spyglass Faisal gave them earlier
that's
to
the
try
original
to prove.
Temple. Sorry, I just found a screenshot of the temple before I added all the bells and whistles to it.
Using the spyglass to make it look like that she is using the gift that he had given her earlier that day. She does say to Faisal to follow, and just jumps in the water, heading towards this little hole in the center.
Yeah,
standing
the side of the center platform. Yes.
Yeah, I was trying to think of what it was called for a minute. What platform?
Valid. Now I find all my good screenshots. Fuck.
Then, as they get closer, Artemis does see it is a cave adorned with amethyst, cobwebs, crystals, and a very waterlogged, and a few bodies there, skeletons more like.
Me when I have a picture.
With a sword in the middle.
Very
Artemis does say that this wasn't here the last time, or it wasn't open at least. And they have a short discussion about the sword, and they both agree that Faisal should take the said sword to investigate it a bit more, because
they note that it's made of obsidian as well, very curiously.
Yes,
it glows with an aura, a magical sense.
Artemis comments Artemis does comment that she's never seen a sword quite like that, and she has seen many weapons within her time. They have a look around the little cave that it is in to see what they can see. They then head on back up above the temple to walk around back to Celine's side, which they hadn't gotten to since they were on the bridge between Karma's and Warren's.
This one, chat. The one with the weird statue shit on the top.
And as they're walking around, they both talk a bit more personal than they had been when Moon was around. Speaking of their families, what they used to do, and how they didn't really follow what their families really did want. And as they finish talking about their siblings, they arrive at Celine's side of the temple. Artemis explaining the top, the two statues on top of the temple, is what is assumed to be Shona worshipping Celine more, or summoning her, supposed at times.
Yeah, specifically, actually, that is what the picture I accidentally swapped to was. This scene right here is when Panky summoned Celine using said statue. You can't quite see it. It's a smaller version down there, but it is quite the same. That is presented on top of the tower.
And because they were talking, and Isaac does really reveal the true intention, well, not intention, but the reason he came to Valley, and he had been exploring a cave and it collapsed and crushing him within the rubble. But was saved by a stranger that had a simple request of gather information about Celine.
Yes, he did not see their face, did not know who they were, only knew they were there because they were healing him. And, well, presumably they weren't there when he woke up from the healing.
Artemis, understanding the situation, as she had a very similar situation of, instead of being healed, she did die and come back.
Yes, that was...
offers help to him with his quest of learning information of Celine however they can.
Yeah, just for context quickly, as this is a recap, Artemis having been born and raised within the end, after it was discovered that they were part elf, was cast out and being forced through the portal killed them. But due to their heritage, well, they managed to magically heal themselves and revive, and were then taken care of by some elves who had found them in the overworld. Nickel and something else, I believe.
Norrell.
Nickel and Norrell, yeah, so...
They're my favourite names that I had.
Very, very cute names. I do quite like it, but you can see the parallels. Like, Artemis might have healed herself, unlike Faisuk, but they were both helped by strangers and, well, in pretty dire situations, so it's a obvious parallel to draw between the two. Continue.
And they both head on back to her island, and then shortly after that, Isaac does leave.
And my favourite line ever happens, where he's like, the stars are so pretty, and now they're gone because you slept in a bed at the exact perfect moment, and I love you for that.
It's my favourite thing, because neither of us could help the timing of it. So it's great.
I could have. I was watching both. I could have stopped it, and I said, no, let this cut pass for me.
You might have been able to, but it's also delay. So
your stream delay is pretty short, though. I'm pretty sure I could have prevented
I make
it,
it pretty short. I'm pretty proud of how short
it's like
it is.
a second. I'm like, I could have prevented this, and I did not. I had the thought, and I said no.
Yeah.
I said, Jesus, take the wheel, and I let you take the wheel, L.
Isaac does leave Artemis's house with a new friendship and much to learn.
Yes, as they go to their workshop to investigate that sword, which is too big to fit on the counter because I had to be extra. But I suppose an important thing to note is, even though Faisuk is alive, he's not quite sure how much time he has left. Looming sense of dread after almost dying in a cavern, or potentially having died in a cavern. He's still not sure. He's not sure where he stands in the line of dead and living. So we wonder where that might lead him in the future.
Who knows?
Who knows?
I
I
don't.
certainly don't know.
Totally don't, guys. Real, not lying at
Real,
all.
we'd never lie. Now, before we move on, we're going to the and the fun part is Feisek doesn't even know. In and out of character. It's my
he
favorite
just
thing.
doesn't. I know.
We know. We know all.
We do know.
We know
do indeed
all.
know.
But with that, we are now moving on to the lore that we do not have write-ups on currently.
I did not tell them about the thing after. I will say. I was pausing. What Artemis left to do.
Oh yes.
As Feisek made his way home to investigate the said sword, Artemis also had a thing to go do. After she had read the letter from Honey, which did regard of Honey leaving the island to go live where Galson used to live, and hearing about this man who was full of himself and pretty arrogant, and she wasn't a biggest fan of him, so
He's an incel, Your Honor.
having very conveniently having TNT and a flint and steel on them goes and blows up Galson's house and burns it down to the ground, so there's nothing left of it. And also reminds her particle she does not condone it.
But then they do commit arson and explode it.
Yeah.
Me furiously typing. Okay, but now, I jumped the gun a little bit, but now we can do the second journal, which I have this little screenshot that I used for the preview image in my little library. We love the library. I love my whiteboard. But yes, like I said,
it's my favorite thing.
We do not have.
Sorry, I got to. We just had to allow the term.
Yes, of course, Your Honor. I do not condone arson. However, this bitch,
yeah,
this bitch deserves the fury and the fire.
I really went there.
Hey, you know what they say? Hell hath no fury like a woman scorn.
Real.
It's true.
Artemis
isn't technically a woman, but it's true.
Hey, there's no confirmation of what she is. She never says.
She never says, and she does not care.
And that's the purpose.
That is the purpose. That is our goal. Who gives a shit? Okay.
Same as Loki, to be honest.
Same as Loki. We love them. We love them, Your Honor. But the second journal. So, after much trial and tribulation, after finding the first of Charlie's journals at her wedding, Jay finally cracks the magical enchantment hiding the final page and is quite charmed to find that instead of it being a written clue or a cipher like they're familiar with finding in these books, it's instead a drawing, making her reminisce to the gift Charlie had given her for her wedding, which was a very poorly written note and a drawing of a cat, which they found rather cute.
I love that cat.
I love that cat, Your Honor. We love it. But it's quite a typical thing of Charlie, who seems to enjoy doodling. The image in the back of the first journal is of a book, which leads Jade to assume the next may be in her very own library, which seems to be a pattern going on of her not knowing what's going on in her library. Sometimes things are placed there while she hasn't looked for a bit, and other times they're just hidden in the walls without her having found them. But I suppose is what happens when you rebuild the ruins of a lost civilization using magic and not your own hand. You miss a few things. But yes, she goes through her house, uses her magical abilities to locate Jelly once again, now in her home library, reading Warrior Ocelots, which is the Mythrill version of Warrior Cats. Fun fact, I found out there's a warrior cat in the actual book series who wears a dog teeth necklace. I don't know why. I haven't read the series, but I thought that was funny and disturbing.
I don't even want to know.
I don't even want to know. Anyway, I told Jelly about it in canon, so they had a wolf teeth necklace. Because I was like, it's parallel. It's a parallel, Your Honor. But Jay sends off Jelly to find Artemis and bring her to the library, while she herself goes off to Charlie's house to convince her to leave her little home. See, during the 2 months that took place between Arc 1 and Arc 2, Jay had spent that time living with Charlie in her underground home. It's sort of a mix between a train station and a sewer, something Jay has noted might be because of the large nether portal that is in the space, thinking that potentially the train sector might have been pushed through the portal somehow, especially since the said portal is blocked off. There's a magical barrier protecting it. You can't pass through it. However, they're familiar with the place, so they head underground and eventually find Charlie building her little animal shelters and setting up her bunker, as they call it. She's been gathering mementos of her friends and everyone she met at the festival, so that eventually, when she decides to hide underground for this foreseeable future, because she's sure the apocalypse is pending, it won't be so lonely. But, of course, Jay finds a way to convince Charlie to leave her underground home to read the second journal of their past. They all meet at the library, and after going through the first journal again, the Quadjet? I don't
know. The group.
The group. What did I say? The group. Me trying to be fancy.
You're trying to be fancy, me going, the group.
The group. But no, squad. When the squad rolls up to the Mythrill library, about to cause no good.
Actually, my brain went that.
Yeah, well, everyone runs around. They start upstairs while Jay checks her secret back room, which she's redecorated now with a lot more barrels to store her extra copies of the books that she keeps in her library, as well as a bed and some other things. The lecterns that held the coordinates to the temple now being gone. She finds nothing in there, though, and they find nothing among the enchantment books that she's selling. Instead, they go through the other shelves, where after a good while of searching, it is Jelly. Yes, Jelly's too familiar with the fan fiction. She's comfortable over there.
And Artemis hates it.
We know. But Jelly, they find Charlie's journal hidden in a crack in the wall, underneath where the Godly Age books are hidden, the books about the gods. Very, very peculiar placement, might I add. But you see, they grab the book and sit down, and Jay begins to read it. It starts off talking about how Karma, aforementioned demon, pulled a prank on Charlie, who had taken refuge in the library whilst it rained. Again, they're a phoenix, water harms them. And Karma had drawn a mustache on their face when they fell asleep inside the building. This leads them to start talking about things they've learned about the deities, and then into a recount on the members of Atmosphere, their family, and a group of adventurers. So Karma, as her title or name suggests, is the karmatic force personified. She's a lesser sin, princess of the demon plane, and enforces the laws of karma, that being good people are rewarded with good things, bad people are punished with bad things. So she was called to the valley by Warren to act as a sort of law enforcement, as the place is meant to be a utopia. Taking the power out of the hands of the people was sort of precedent, I suppose. So Karma was in charge of that. Celine, who at the time went by the name Malachi, and whilst their hair was still black and their eyes still red, Charlie recounts they used to wear blue instead. That rhymed.
Yep. As soon as you said it, I was like, damn.
Damn, I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. All right then. But they decide to they go through the book. Malachi, as they were once called, turns out to have been sort of the treasurer, I suppose. The auction house, formerly known as the courthouse, was a place where people could, obtain money in a way that was controlled, instead of by a state or a government, by the deities themselves. So that was Malachi's form of taking power out of the people's hands, keeping the peace, I suppose. Rather controlling society, it seemed. Meanwhile, all that
Wild.
is written about Warren is that he is the king, rules over them all. It's obvious who is in charge is cited. And he is the one who brought Karma and Malachi both there, so it is easy to assume that Karma was brought there by a summoning ritual. We've seen her summoned before, in some way or another, by Jay. However, we haven't seen much of what Celine can do, why they are there, and if they do have some power gifted to them by Warren, then, well, why? And how? It's food for thought. After going through the three deities, though, they move on to atmosphere, first talking about Timothus.
My guy.
My guy, my dude, my lad. He'd previously been noted as, well, accident prone, as in the book which told how to craft wings, it was said that they were hiding the recipe from him so he would not crash into the dirt. As it turns out, this wasn't because of his clumsiness, it was because he is a druid, inclined to nature magic and earth magic. So, sort of a societal stereotype is that he would just, fall back towards the earth, not very airborne adjacent, I suppose. Yes, he seemed to have played the part of sort of the socialite, going into areas of people, gaining trust and favor, talking his way, sort of like a politician vibe without actually holding any political power. He was good at talking to people. Appearance rather scarecrow-like, hair and all is stated. Thin frame, blonde hair, gaunt features, I suppose. Very, very interesting lad. Apparently good sense of humour on him, as it appears him and Charlie Swarm used to be drinking buddies. Something Charlie gets a little bit emotional about, recounting her old friend. Hilaria, as we have heard not only from the wing recipe which she wrote the book on, but from Moon's own quest, as it's going through her research logs, is thought to be very experimental in her studies, how even Charlie herself, her friend and pseudo-family member, was unaware if they were some sort of witch or just a very, very enthusiastic scientist and potionaire, sort of muddying the water. I will say, for any confusion for the future, that witches in the world of Mythrill go very close to Harry Potter rules in terms of human families can give birth to witches without having any magical blood themselves. Though it's very rare, but whether Hilaria is a witch or is not, we cannot confirm or deny as of right now. We do not know. I've not thought that far ahead. She could be. It's what. Think of it how you wish. She could be. She could be. Not saying she's not. She just could be. But yeah, it seems that Hilaria was sort of the mother figure a bit of the mum friend, keeping them out of trouble. I very shamelessly made a reference to that one vine of mayonnaise on an escalator, giving no context to what situation happened to get them in trouble with that, only that Hilaria's braids got caught into the escalator itself because of how long they were, which we all cite as being rather painful. Biggest obstacle in Mythrill Valley is the escalators, even though there are none there. If they ever came, we'd all die.
Real.
Especially Artemis with that long hair.
Yeah.
Jay would be fine. Their hair's too short. Everyone else, perish. It's also confirmed that Hilaria and Tim happen to be dating. One of those couples who are so different they just complement each other with the facts, I suppose. And it's also briefly mentioned how Hilaria's sister does not approve, though she's only mentioned that she has a sister and not anything else about them. Something which Artemis notes, saying, "Oh, that's
Wow.
wild, that. I didn't know she had a sister." Confusing both Jay and Charlie, prompting them to have a conversation a while later. But now we move on to Stephen, the leader of the group, who last arc had been confirmed to have been Cloudy, a member's father, who they had been searching for in Arc 1. Cloudy has mysteriously disappeared from the valley, most people assuming she has returned home to her mother, who is still alive. However, her father had been a rather secretive and all-knowing adventurer, very skilled, becoming the leader of the group through his experiences and, theoretically, possession of the Time Crux, which no one is quite aware where he got it from as of right now. A magical time travel device is not easily come by, I will say. But yes, from there, Charlie notes that she hopes that, well, she might add more to the notes in time, and sort of alludes to hoping that she won't need to look at them for a long time to come. I suppose alluding to the fact she hopes that these people won't die so quickly. Being an immortal phoenix, probably experienced a lot of death in her time. Anyway, with that, they move on to talking about the book itself, throwing in their theories about Karma, Malachi, Warren, though they are adamant at avoiding his name as in order to not upset Charlie, who has a rather visceral reaction to it. They go over the members of Atmosphere and how interesting a dynamic it was, comforting Charlie as she gets a little bit upset about slowly waking up to her memories of her family and having to go through that loss. Eventually, after they've talked for a while, Jay takes Artemis aside as they had been meaning to talk to her about something when they entered the library, leaving Jelly and Charlie to go off on their own, where they converse for a while, doing some pleasantries, talking about how Jelly needs to learn to fly at some point. Charlie tries to give some pointers, but they decide to leave it for another day. Meanwhile, Jay and Artemis go to talk about things. Artemis confides in Jay what Moon told her about the books from the ancient city and about Hilaria's sister, Mary. She even tells Jay that she believes that she arrested Moon's mother as she entered the end, but is hesitant to tell Moon, instead waiting on her to find out the information by herself if it comes up in the books she is finding in the ancient cities. Jay tells Artemis the full reason for why she met Selene and found out their new form, it being a deal that she had made with them, something Artemis is understanding of. And they theorize about what exactly the shapeshifter could be wanting with Honey's blood, but hope that she'll leave Honey alone from now on, at the very least. They go over some other menial things, talk a bit about the aforementioned Physock, and sort of go over his intelligence and how he might be coming Jay's way. She plans to test him by seeing how much knowledge he truly has on magical creatures, more so out of a playful exchange than anything malicious, but you know how Fae can be, little tricksters they are. And they talk more about the books, about the information, about how finding the next ones will hopefully help them in the future, and how they want to avoid whatever doom Charlie feels is looming over them. Aside from Selene's ever-presence, which they are attempting to combat by word of mouth and finding out what their full deal is, nothing dangerous seems to be on the horizon, but everyone can't help but worry. Feels like something bigger is going on. And as they're leaving, descending the stairs and about to leave the library, Jay stops short. Her sentence fizzles out, and, well, she doesn't really look too happy. She makes a rushed explanation that she's fine physically before leaving Artemis in the library. And then we proceed to her running around the harbour, crying, hysterically wailing about how Sky, her wife, is missing. You see, before the wedding, Sky had been missing for 2 months, and upon her return, Jay had convinced her to let her place a magical tracker on her. That way, if her disappearance continued, disappearance that Sky does not intend to happen, nor does she know where she ends up when it does, they would be able to know, and Jay would be able to find her. However, at that exact moment in the library, Jay felt her spell break. The magic she had placed on a flower given to her beloved shattered, and she was no longer aware of where Sky was, or where she had been in the world. Last out picking flowers, to her knowledge, at the very least, but she runs around to every conceivable place she can think Sky might be. Her own home, Sky's home, their shared businesses of the Tiki House and Tea House. She goes to Sky's restaurant, she goes everywhere. She cannot find her wife. And so, Jay's POV ends with her crying as the love of her life leaves her once again, and she does not know if she's safe or not. Which leads us to
Wow, imagine.
Artemis, who, as well as, talking of all of such things with Jay, mentioned how she sent a letter to Loki, or, well, Jay more so assumed, through the end.
She doesn't know.
She assumed. She's heard of
she
Loki.
No.
She's heard enough about Loki to presume. She called you cute. She guessed.
And she's like, no, it's not who you think it is.
She guessed and hoped for you to get a response, and, well, did you?
Artemis did indeed get a response. Imagine.
Give us the play-by-play.
Artemis she's had this letter like the whole time. They were all talking and she was just waiting to kind of to go and read it eventually. But so she goes back home to her island after excusing herself from Jelly and Charlie shortly after they spoke again, and heads on over to the gazebo / monument she had built and sat down on the picnic blanket looking off of the island into the ocean. And she just sat and read the letter he had wrote back of him being very grateful that she is indeed alive, and explaining he does feel at fault for what happened to her, that her own death, even though she explicitly said it was not his fault. And then goes on to say she was
We're trying to get
more
this
in
in frame.
shock. She stated in her letter to him about how she's just a shulk of their knowledge, a shulk back then. And he is a half Enderian, half Ender Dragon.
High class in their society.
Well, yeah, that highest class.
Highest class. Literally, the dragon is their, like, well, not quite god, but might as well be sort of worshipped in a similar capacity, I guess.
It's like they worship the dragon protects them, but they also protect the dragon. It's like
it's a sort of like the birds that keep clean the croc. Shut up, dogs.
But this letter also lets her know who got the letter to him, which was, as I said earlier, was the knight Hestia, who was friends with Artemis when she was there. And we kind of learn a bit more what Artemis was like in the end, which she was a little bit more mischievous than she appears to be more now, stating that she involved herself in the pranks that he did pull on people in the end. And in his last two things in the letter, he states, even though he cannot be physically with her in Mythrill Valley, he will always be there with her in her memories and her heart. And does also inform his fiancée that he is very sickly looking and pale, as people have said, but he does put that down to her. He puts that down to the love of his life not being with him anymore.
Yeah, very, very sweet. And can we get some...
And I'm so proud of writing these letters.
You did such a good job. The cinematic was lovely.
I almost cried when I was sat reading it.
Oh, I just wanted to say, can we get some love for the art we have on screen right now, made by a lovely Marsarcy, who I will be talking about more later after we are done. but
Let me. What
it's
is?
it's a very, very handsome piece, isn't it? Look at those wings.
Oh,
Look at that smile, that expression. Look at him. Handsome boy. Artemis says to pick him.
hey, she. There we go. I was trying to sort out how to
Hey,
type that.
let's go. Let's go, besties. Marzaki also made my PNG, but we'll be going over some of the thanks
Mars
at
also
the
made an
end.
Optimus PNG as well.
Yeah, it's not that you're using right now, but you're using
Yeah,
lore.
we love
Using
Mars.
lore. We do love Marzaki. We do love Marzaki. We very much do. Okay, but with that, we are going to move on to the last lore that we have to cover today. This
Yay!
stream happened not yesterday, but the day before. Actually, the same day as the second journal stream. Um, so what a fun-packed day of lore that one was, huh? We had a lot going on that day.
We did.
But we are met with the lovely, lovely Honey as they are organizing their new house, which they have moved on to Galson's Island, as previously stated when they gave a letter to Artemis. See, Honey has moved there, made a new home for herself a little further away, kind of trying to establish her own identity, I suppose. And as she goes through her stuff, she's saddened by some of the things that she has been doing, her fight with Artemis, and feels the need to apologize for Jay for barging into her library, to apologize for Amias for yelling at them when they would not answer her, but also shows anger towards the existence of Psyche and how she is not an original person, how she was based off of someone else, someone real. And sort of, yeah. But it's during these musings, as she leaves her home, that she receives another note from Breeze, as she dubs them. A few notes and a compass, which is engraved with the word "a gift." So she follows this compass, gets a little bit lost as she goes around, but makes her way to the Mythrill Temple, where she eventually finds and ascends the staircase to its top. Yeah, I was sneaking around doing screenshots during this, so I have a couple, which we do enjoy.
We do that most of the time.
We
when
do that
people are
a
doing
lot
more.
of the time. If
If
we're not involved, we're taking
we're probably
screenshots.
there. Inspector, be warned, Mythrill member.
It's cute. I did that in some unreleased lore with you and someone else because you are involved in everything.
Real,
But
I
Honey
am.
goes through the trial of making her way around the temple, something quite challenging for someone who's only a month old. First missing the staircase, then falling through the bridge into the water, before she eventually makes her way to the central island after a little while. I'm going to snip through my screenshots real quick. But when she reaches the center, she's congratulated by Breeze in the form of more notes, some of which he refers to her as Little Rose. Quite precious, quite sweet.
What guy?
What a guy, what a lad. I mean, we don't know the gender, so.
We always just say guy for people we just don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I use it as
to be honest, I do it because a lot of masculine names are also used as gender neutral ones, so it's like, well, I guess a little more typically than like feminine names.
Yeah.
But they reach the center and are gifted with angel wings, fulfilling their sort of title. They've always had a halo, but now they have the wings to match. See, any creature, well, in a specific form, creatures gifted power by gods or specialties are angels in this universe instead of being like, servants of gods. So I suppose there's a hint of that in this as well. I swear to God, my dogs better shut the fuck up. Honey, oh, that's Marzaki.
Oh my god. Mars.
I thought I had more of the wings, but apparently I don't. Okay, that's fine. Just jump scared by Marzaki.
No, I love that. I love that.
And I
real.
didn't change the title. That's my bad. I was trying to rush because I realized we've been live for 3 hours.
Oh,
Whims. I know.
It's windy.
Nightmare. He appears when you least expect it. Oh, but Honey receives their wings. Congratulations from Breeze. And they return home with their new asset, new ability. They may not leave the harbor, but they may ascend. A quote from one of the notes they received. And it's a short lore thing, but still an important one nonetheless. Set up for some things in the future, and I suppose the start of Honey's quest. So unlike the others, I haven't listed these in parts because they are like little different format, little differently planned, I guess. But An Angel Without Wings was this one. And that leads us very soundly to
Today,
the end.
when nothing's happening.
Today, where nothing is going on, but we don't have the end quite yet, as well. I wanted to talk about a couple of things. First off, being Bagel sent me the pictures of the Hoovers. As you can see, there's a bunch in the water. They're a little hard with shaders, so here's one of lava-boarded Hoover. Very, very fun.
Oh,
this is what our members get up to on the server when they are not live, or
This
when they
is what
are live in
Bagel
Bagel's case. This is
Yeah,
what Bagel
Bagel
gets
does
up
it
to.
live.
Bagel does what they want to do. I wanted to give a very big special thank you to both Marsarcy, as previously mentioned, for making my PNG today, as well as some lovely art for the SMP as a whole, as well as thanking my co-owner Sky for making the intro and outro music. It is not titled and is not actually available on their YouTube as of right now. I've just been calling it Rats because it gives me that sort of like vibe. Yes, they made the intro and outro song. Rats, we're the rats. And I suppose before we go on and end or anything, I want to talk a bit about the background.
Oh, please.
Because I made it. Because I made it and I love myself. That's a lie.
No, you should. You should love yourself.
I kind of copped out with the books because I did use a brush to make those and then coloured them. But who knows? Maybe the colour has a meaning.
Who knows?
Who knows? I wonder what the yellow's for.
It's me, guys.
I'm particular.
It's Clive, guys.
Oh, certainly. But it's very subtle. You can tell the fire's moving on the logs, but the candle fire also moves, which is very, very, very precious. Yeah, Marsarcy did the lovely, lovely PNG, and then I worked in the background because if I did both, I would not have enough time. I would not have any time.
Just made my PNG.
I did make yours, your little fairy, because you are a pond fairy, the glow mushroom. I intended to have like above the fireplace with the big blue gem, the two and the four smaller ones. I think it's pretty obvious what those represent. We have red for Celine, purple for Karma, and blue for Warren.
Where's Clive the deity?
I mean, there's yellow on the shelves. there's gold on the crystal ball. But that's actually the thing I wanted to talk about. Was I wanted to display things on top of the fireplace, and I thought, Mythrill coins because it's topical. I thought a skull would be cute and have it hold a flower for extra flavor. And then I wanted a crystal ball specifically, so like the few alerts that we do have, that being raid alerts, sub alerts, and I think chair alerts could come through and like sort of have like a in podcast sense sort of projection. We have the whiteboard, but they're more spontaneous, and I like being able to go whoosh with the whiteboard.
I love the whiteboard.
It goes up and down, up and down, up and down, like my hands. But I didn't actually intend for the items on top of the fireplace to also be purple, blue, and red.
Yeah.
That just sort of happened, or the gold to be there either. I guess the fireplace has yellow because of the fire, but it was just sort of a coincidence, which I thought was cute. But yeah, are there any tidbits that we should mention now? I suppose aside from being sure to, check out Elle's Twitch, my lovely guest fairy here today, as well as Sky's YouTube and Mars's Twitch, for their lovely, amazing work. Mars and Sky are lovely, and so are you, Elle. Thank you for being with me here today.
You know me,
You like being involved in everything.
I like helping you out with stuff.
It's very sweet. I appreciate you immensely. But But yeah, everyone be sure to check out the. I have too many things open on my thing. Check out the Mythrill Twitter. Because we post all the stuff on here, like the announcement for this series and everything, as well as like individual people when they do lore. Like we retweet all of our members' lore stream things. We also have, if I scroll down far enough, character art reveals, which we are 20 likes away from revealing this character, one of the
You
Arc
should
1
go like
members.
it because it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we are only 20 likes away, so please be sure to do that. We'll be doing this little podcast every month, so you'll see us again in this format at the very least sometime in May. No set date as of right now, but we'll figure that out closer to the time. There'll be less lore to go over, as it will only be a month and not the 2 and a little bit that we've had to do for this stream.
Honestly, I think we've done well for like
I think
the
we've
time.
done very, very well. Like I thought I mean, we're almost at 3.5 hours, but considering how much we had to go through, I think we're doing pretty good.
And we didn't get distracted as much.
Not as much as I thought we
Just
would,
saying.
truthfully.
It's the reason I was playing Minecraft in the background, because like if I'm playing something, I'm not gonna
if
get
your hands are busy,
distracted.
your brain won't get distracted. I
That's the thing.
just made sure to have everything relevant on my monitors.
I'm building Bryce's house right now.
Very sweet, very sweet. But yes, that's everything that we have for today. That is the lore done. I want to say quickly that this VOD will be going up on the Mythrill Archives YouTube channel once again, hopefully tomorrow at some point. I'll try and cut out the majority of this end waffle as well as the starting soon screen. So it will just be chock full of the lore tidbits that you can go and watch at your own leisure. I'll be sure to add that link into the Mythrill command, but it will be posted in the public Discord when it goes live as well. But yeah, upcoming lore that we have, none of it is dates, none of it is set in stone.
We're all planning now, which I kind of like as a factor.
Yeah, we all have a lot of stuff being planned. We are planning a stream together. Mars is planning some lore. Katie is planning some lore. Honey and Jelly are planning some lore. And then all of us might be planning some lore together at some point. Me and Bryce have an idea in the works, but we have to wait on a couple of other people to do some things beforehand. And who knows, maybe a couple of the members who haven't had much lore screen time yet will make themselves known once, busy exam season is over. Unfortunately, it's that time of year, so
be nice to everyone, even if they're not doing much lore, because they're trying their best.
Yeah, they're trying their best, and so long as they're showing up on the server, we support them and we love them so much. But yes, I suppose that is the end for today. Do we have any Mythrill members who are live?
No,
well then,
not a single Mythrill member.
Not a single Mythrill member is live. That's perfectly fine. Because of the nature of this podcast series, we won't really be raiding out of Mythrill, just for context of things. So I suppose we'll go to the end screen. You guys can enjoy the music for a minute or two, and then we'll call it there. So we hope to see you guys again in the future of Mythrill Monthly. We hope you all enjoyed, and as always,
hydrate.
Hydrate, is that as always?
Yeah, as always, hydrate. Because you need to make sure you've been drinking.
Well, I was going to say, as always, may Mythrill enrich your hearts. Thank you for watching.